Peter's consciousness awoke slowly from a dream already forgotten. There was no sound, no smell, only cold. He tried to open his eyes, but couldn't. Something sealed them shut.
Your eyelids are frozen. Just stay calm, and everything will be okay.
So cold. Peter did not shiver, for this was no ordinary chill. He felt it inside his body. Ice seemed to flow through his veins. But slowly, gradually, he felt the cold slip away, replaced by a pulsing warmth.
There we go. Almost back in the land of the living.
Peter tried to speak, but his throat was frozen solid. So instead, he tried to concentrate on opening his eyes. His lids stung as he yanked them apart, but he persevered until there was a tiny ripping sound. And then there was light.
Glad to have you back, Peter.
Who are...
Try not to speak just yet. Let's get you stabilized, then I'll explain everything. You've been asleep, but I've just woken you up.
Sleep?
Yes, you've been asleep a very long time.
Peter chose to remain quiet while the other man continued whatever it was he needed to do. He poked and prodded at Peter, examined the readouts being spat from a multitude of machines. He was definitely some kind of doctor or scientist. They seemed to be inside some kind of clinical warehouse. Once he could move again, Peter realized he was inside some kind of glass coffin, lined with ice like the inside of an old freezer. He had been frozen, and now he had been defrosted. The doctor gave him a glass of deep blue liquid and told him to drink it. It was explained to him that it contained ingredients that would keep his vitals steady, his heart beating in rhythm. Peter was too confused to do anything other than exactly as he was told, so he drank the liquid down in one gulp. He felt much better a few moments later.
My name is Dr. Faraday, and your name is Peter.
I know my name.
That's wonderful. Do you remember anything else?
I can't remember anything. I don't know a thing other than my name.
Well, memory loss is to be expected. Just remembering your name is a triumph.
Where am I?
Seattle, just outside the city to be exact.
Seattle? Am I from here?
You're a pathologist at this facility. You studied viruses.
I what?
It will come back to you in time. You are a brilliant scientist, Peter, and I woke you up so that you could help me with my work.
Woke me up? What the hell is happening here? Why did I wake up in a block of ice, and where is everybody else?
There is nobody else. At least, not here. It's just me, I'm afraid. My work here is the most important thing in the world. I mean that quite literally. I woke you up to help me.
Woke me up from what?
Cryosleep.
Cryosleep? Like something out of a science fiction novel, a Walt Disney urban legend?
Cryostasis was a pipe dream when Walt Disney was alive. It wasn't perfected until 2028 by a man named Einstein. Not the 20th century Einstein, that's just a coincidence. Although the two did look remarkably similar in life.
And he's dead now?
I would think so. It's 2056. I was only a young man when Einstein perfected cryostasis. Yet his work has served me now in bringing you back.
Okay, why was I in cryostasis?
Well, because the alternative was dying, like everybody else.
What happened to everybody else?
The HBs AG11 virus. The media eventually named it the final flu, but it's actually more related to hepatitis than influenza. It attacks the liver, swells until a person's insides rupture. The early onset presents as flu, so the confusion is understandable.
I don't remember any of what you're saying.
No, I suspect you don't, but you were one of the many scientists who opted for a long sleep. The plan was for you to wake up 100 years from now, when the virus reservoirs will have dried up and humanity might have a chance of starting again. In the meantime, some of us were to remain here working on a cure for the people in the future. There's still people dying in the world. Not many, but some. If I can find a way to beat the virus, I can rescue what's left of humanity and wake those up that are currently sleeping. We can start again right now, before too much is lost to us. If we recover now, there's still a chance to revive our world as it was.
What am I supposed to help you with? I don't know anything about viruses. At least, if I do, I don't remember any of it.
Well, you will. In the meantime, you can provide company and keep an old man from losing his mind. You can be my lab assistant, if nothing else for the time being. I understand you're in shock. I think you need something visual to jolt you truly awake. Come with me.
Hidden Gems, Master. Episode 69. Halloween Spectacular 2024.
Welcome to Hidden Gems, a board game podcast where we review unusual, forgotten, and underappreciated board games. We're your hosts. My name is Chris.
I'm Jason.
This is Bill.
And I'm Cameron. Thanks for listening to our show. It's another special episode.
Special edition. All four
Spooky
guys
edition.
in the house. What's that?
Spooky edition.
Spooky edition.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I love these themed episodes. They always feel like an event. You know what I mean?
There's a jack-o'-lantern face on my cocktail
That's right.
glass.
Oh,
There is.
you're jumping ahead.
Spoiler alert.
I don't know. I feel a little bit like I'm in 8th grade when we're doing our our plays, because it's like you don't know. It's like,
Oh,
you
that's
remember
right.
like you're reading in class and you used to do those, read the things. So anyway,
I guess they've heard the first quarter of our skit. Yeah, I
Oh,
was
is
just
that
not
right?
putting that together. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, Bill playing Dr. Faraday.
Yes.
drafted.
Me playing the ever-present narrator.
The omniscient narrator.
Did you guys enjoy all my spectacular lines?
Your one-liners.
Yeah. All my lines were really, really deep, really thoughtful.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Well, when we get into the final act, it juices up a little bit for
Yeah.
you.
That's
Yeah.
true. I don't know. I'm thinking the BBC guy's going to carry the whole thing.
I just wanted to have like a monologue, and all my lines were basically just like restating what Dr. Faraday said to me, but as a question.
You've been frozen, Peter.
I've been
Frozen?
I live here all alone. You live here all alone? It's like I have similar conversations with my 3-year-old.
I need your help. You need my help?
Sometimes it's, why do you need my help?
Where are you going, Daddy? Well, I'm going to work. You're going to work? And then I'll come home. And then you'll come home? Like,
Yeah. But all joking aside, I'm actually glad you mentioned this because I almost forgot. We do want to give credit to the author. We did this actually last year. Same author, Iain Rob Wright, gave us permission to use his short stories from his book A to Z of Horror. And this particular short story is I is for Ice. And like I said, he gave us permission, so we appreciate him letting us do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And we appreciate you not picking one with accents. I'm sure the listeners do.
Well, actually, there are some BBC references where I think we're supposed to have more English accents, and I just struck all that from the record. I was
Chris
like,
didn't
we're not
even
even
try.
going there. I'm not even going to try.
Oh, dang it.
Am I the only one that's brave enough to do a British accent
Yes, you
anymore?
are.
No, I'd have done it. They've been Australian, Scottish, Irish, British.
I did a French accent last time, and we didn't get any hate mail. So. I don't know how many French audience members we have, but, you know.
I thought it was tastefully done. Well, let's get into the banner here. We'll see if the guys got the assignment and are going to stay on theme for our spooky Halloween episode. Bill, what scary stuff do you have
Oh
to
my
talk about
gosh.
tonight?
Well, somehow I missed that message because I did not see any incoming texts or emails or whatever saying I
It's
needed
just
to.
assumed, man.
I
You
think
know?
the
Okay.
spookiest thing Bill does these days is try to compile his top 100 list.
That's true.
That's right.
That is a frightening endeavor every time I look at that list. One thing that I've been doing that's just kind of for my own volition is on Steam, I look at digital versions of board games. And so I've been digging through that pile. And Chris inspired me in his top 100 list to look at one in his probably 95 to 100 range.
Okay.
And I don't know how to describe it orthogonally. I
showed it to you. It's combining ingredients to fulfill
Potion
a
explosion.
Potion
right there.
explosion.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is kind of funny because now I want to
I
see
kind of
it.
got some hate from the community on this one.
Oh, really? Because they don't like it?
Well, it's just too basic, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Our core listener group has a more refined palate. They don't want to waste their time on things like potion explosion.
Was it Discord? If people rip you
Discord?
on Discord?
Yeah.
I can see that. But to me, the digital implementation of it is kind of cool. And it makes me want to see what the real life version looks
You
like. The way
gotta
it all
see the
drops.
marbles.
Yeah, the way they drop down.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
The tactile nature when you pull the marbles out and they clack together and you get those chain reactions is just like pretty neat. It's a gimmick for sure, but it works.
3.5 out of 6.
3.5.
Yeah.
Really?
I know we're not allowed to do that, but this is an official review, so I can do what I want.
You talk about how you like that game though.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I don't know if it's one I want to always go back to, though.
It's more like a
You're
kid's,
trying to score points with our listeners.
No.
Is it more like a kid's game?
You shill.
I'm like never on Discord.
And there are a lot of kids that like playing it. I believe Chris mentioned that.
Okay.
The kids like playing it.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. I can see it has a little bit of strategy, especially with
For
those
sure.
got a -2 option that you can take a potion out before you do your real turn that doesn't cause explosions, so you can get that set up a cascade. So it takes, I mean, to me, maybe it's just because I don't process super fast, but once thinking about all of that and the whole set of marbles that are out there, thinking, okay, if I do this, how will it cascade all the way out?
Totally. And I think there's definitely some meaningful decisions about when you drink or activate your completed potions will also let you manipulate the hopper a little bit or let you do some other things where
Yeah,
you
'cause
can
they give
really
you, like, special abilities or something, right?
you can really fire off some like crazy strong combos when
Right.
you do that. So I mean, it's not a deep game by any means, but
No.
I think to say that it doesn't have meaningful decisions is probably a little unfair.
Right.
And I just find it entertaining. Again,
No.
I'm suckered by the tactile nature of it, but
Well, you'd probably like the digital because, like, the components or marbles kind of explode and they go into your potion bottle
Nice.
and they make little bubbles and stuff like that. So it's
What
it's
it
got
lacks
some cool
in
animations.
tactile, you make up for in animations.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
yeah, that's
So,
a great one.
Yeah, I also got Yellow and Yangtze, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't started that. Well, actually, I did. I loaded it, but it doesn't really have a tutorial, so you have to actually read the frickin' rules.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I've
okay,
heard good things about that game. I've never played it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the next evolution of Tigris and Euphrates.
I think it's in a kind of lighter version of it.
So I've not played it, but yeah, I think it's very similar. I think the spaces are hexagonal as opposed to square, I think. But yeah, it's very similar.
That's about it because I
Cool.
talked about my stuff 2 weeks ago. So
It was terrifying.
what's that?
That was terrifying.
It was terrifying.
It was pretty on theme. It's potions.
So, okay, well, I was a poll watcher today, so
But that was terrifying.
that was pretty terrifying watching humanity all stream by.
Oh my gosh, I'm so ready for this to be over. Yeah.
Okay, so was that scary enough?
That's scary. Perfect. Good job.
Okay. So, Cameron, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been up to the scariest thing I can possibly think of, which is parenting 2 toddlers. Oh man,
It seems to be top of mind every time I see you
Bro.
these days.
I wish I had something else to bring to to the what's been going on since the last time I saw you conversations, because man, it's a lot of work. Anyone out there in the audience that has their own kids probably knows that, but man, it's like my daughter hit 1 and started walking, and now she's super mobile, and she's already
They never stop.
fighting with her brother. The only thing that's worse than that is when your 2 toddlers get sick, because one of them gets sick and then everybody in the house gets sick, and then they just stay sick for a month.
Oh yeah.
They're just constantly running their noses and they don't eat, and then you're stressed about them not eating because they're going to wake up in the middle of the night and they wake you up at 5 a.m. because they didn't eat.
That's right. Wait till all 4 of you are sick and you're debating with your wife about who's going to go take care of the kids this time, because both of you feel
right.
totally
No,
miserable.
that's literally every day in my house. But then when they start getting over it, then you can't feed them enough. So my daughter's 1, and this is the first day that she's actually starting to get her normal appetite back. I'm going to read off, I wrote it down, a list of what she ate just for dinner. She ate really well all day today, but this is what she ate just for dinner, okay? Sweet potatoes, strawberries, blueberries, mozzarella cheese stick, avocado chunks, watermelon, cantaloupe, and peanut butter cookie. That's a lot of things.
Nice.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. When you're in the moment and you're like, okay, she just finished the watermelon, and she's like, ah! And just starts screaming at you again. You're like, what else? I don't have anything else. There's nothing else in the fridge. What am I going to do? How do I make the noise stop?
You open a vein.
So that's all I got.
That's it.
It is pretty funny that this is the man who goes to spinning metal blades for relaxation after being with his kids. So
That's true.
Well, next time you're on, I'm counting on you to talk about Rings of Power.
Okay.
How about that?
We could have that conversation.
Yeah.
We could have it now, but we got a lot to get to, so
Yeah.
we'll save it for next
That's
time.
a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one, but I know you have lots to say about that.
I've already had one really, really long, good conversation with my brother and a lot of notes that I can refer back to.
Nice.
My brother is the Tolkien scholar in the family. He knows everything.
I mean, you know a lot. You read the books every year.
I
so-
do.
I need
Nice.
to catch up. I haven't watched any of it yet.
But Travis actually understands like the stuff that's going on in the Silmarillion. He reads that more frequently than I. He's read it more than once.
Yeah.
I went through the Silmarillion like one time, and so I have vague references to like what's going on in Rings of Power. So I will study up and be ready for that conversation next
Well,
time.
that seems to be what a lot of the backlash in the community is that it's not closely following that source material, which to me is not a big deal because I've never read the Silmarillion. I'm just glad to have more Lord of the Rings stuff. Seems
Yeah.
cool, but
Yeah.
yeah, we can have that discussion for
It'll
sure.
be fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Nice.
Sorry for the rant.
All right, for me, I
Feel
guess
better.
I'll go next. I've got some fun, spooky stuff to talk about here. I got two things. So the first thing I want to mention, I actually got it over here, a little show and tell.
Ooh.
I read this graphic novel here called Dwellings. This is by Jay Stevens. This is a cool book.
Yeah,
So-
Chris is showing us. This is great
yeah,
podcast
yeah. I'm
material.
showing the guys so they can comment on it.
This is cracking me up because it's a bird eating an eyeball out of a skull, but the bird, like the bird, looks like out of the Flintstones cartoons.
Exactly. It's kind of got like that old
It looks
school.
like Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah, a
Yes.
little
Yeah, like Golden Key, Woody Woodpecker, Flintstones kind of look to it. Archie would be another one, kind of has like the characters along the side. And I think that's why I'm sharing it, is that's really, I think, the hook of this book. And what's interesting about it is it's got that kind of cutesy style animations. I've mentioned this on the show before, like Happy Tree Friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is very similar to that because
Goodness.
this is a mature book.
Yeah.
Okay, it is gory, it is bloody, it is violent, but it's that art style superimposed on that content, which is kind of jarring, which I think is what he was going for, right?
Okay.
Like to kind of take this more innocent looking art style and superimposing upon it horror, basically.
Goodness.
Okay. So it's interesting. It's 6 short stories that take place in a town called Elwich. And what's interesting, too, about the short stories, I love it when books do this, is they're all freestanding, but there are overlapping elements. So, like, some things that happen in one story are referenced in another story, or you'll see characters that overlap between the two stories. So while it's 6 separate stories, it's kind of like one bigger overall kind of story.
So, like if Jughead in the first story becomes a vampire king,
Right.
Veronica
And then
reversed
you got
to,
Archie and you got Veronica in the second story, and yeah, it's just it's got that kind of vibe to it. So, if you like horror, I would just recommend. I think it's got a really neat style to it. Okay, so it's Dwellings by Jay Stevens. It's cool. And then the second thing I wanted to mention, I actually alluded to this last episode. I've kind of gotten back into anime again. So I started watching another anime called Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. Have you guys heard of this?
Why would I have ever heard of that?
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I just want to see. I would bet some of our listeners have probably heard of this one, but this is a story. It's a zombie story, obviously, Zom 100. And the idea behind it is the lead character, his name is Akira, and he is a 22-year-old guy, fresh out of college. And he's like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. He's excited to move on to the next phase of his life. And he gets like his big corporate job, right? Next phase, I'm excited. He starts his corporate job in like a cubicle in this big business. And it just absolutely sucks the life out of him. He's working like 100 hours a week. He's miserable. He hates his job. His boss is terrible to him. And you can see over the first episode, his countenance just completely dropping. And he's almost becoming like a zombie, right? It's like the life has just totally left him, right? So after this, I think it's maybe into episode 1, into episode 2, a zombie outbreak occurs. And so he's watching this on TV. It's actually one of the more funny parts of the show. And he's just kind of like processing this zombie outbreak as he's in his apartment. And then it slowly begins to dawn on him that he doesn't have to go to work anymore. Because there's a zombie apocalypse happening. And he's like, I don't have to go to work. And he's like rejoicing about this. And he actually, in the midst of the apocalypse, becomes like the best version of himself. He like regains his enthusiasm for life. And he's not really fearful. He actually begins to excel. He's like helping people. And so in the midst of this, he creates his bucket list of the dead, which is basically 100 things I want to do before I become a zombie. It's like a list of things that he puts in his journal. Okay. And so the episodes are him scratching off these things out of his notebook that he has accomplished that he wants to get done before he gets zombified, basically. And they're crazy. It's all kinds of weird stuff. I wrote down a couple, like he wanted to get dreadlocks, so he gave himself dreadlocks. He wanted to go out on a date with a flight attendant. This actually happens in one of the episodes. Become a superhero. He does that. That's a hilarious episode. But then some of them are more serious, like reconciling with his family. So he goes and sees his parents in the country, and he meets some people along the way, one of his friends, and they kind of travel as a group.
Is he Japanese?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is actually occurring in Japan, which is also cool because I think they're in Shinjuku, I think is where Akira is, which is where we were when we were in Tokyo.
Right. Is that like a county region?
It's like a district. In Shibuya, there's actually a lot that happens in Shibuya in the show because there's like Shibuya Crossing, which is a big crossing, maybe one of the biggest in the world, which we went through, where a lot of crosswalks just intersect, and that's like in the show. So it was cool to see that. So basically, he meets a lot of people. He's going through his bucket list. They're trying to survive. I will say it's gory, like it's a zombie thing. So people are getting killed. There's blood flying, but it's interesting. The blood is like rainbow colored. It's like yellow and purple and blue, and they use like kind of weird rainbow colors to it. It's hard to explain. It's a dark comedy. Okay. Like it's got horror elements, but I laughed more than anything. Okay. It's funny. It's a really funny show. So if you're into anime, and even if you're not, I would say this is probably a good one to like just kind of check out because I found it really entertaining, honestly.
How are you watching it?
I watched it on Hulu.
Oh.
And again, it's called Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. Pretty solid.
Too funny.
Nice. How the heck do I follow that up?
Yeah, no.
Rainbow colored blood and
I stayed on topic.
The Flintstones with gore. I think the most horrifying thing about this episode is this episode with 3 different dice games.
Jason's nightmare.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about these games.
More to come on that. But yeah, I mean, I can't even think what I've been up to since last episode. I've been working on the house a lot, which is scary in and of itself. The more I discover the wiring in my house and whoever did it, so that's horrifying in and of itself. But yeah, I guess the only thing I can throw out there is I started a new Metroidvania.
Nice, yes.
And this is like hot off the presses. I think it came out Friday or something.
Oh,
like
wow.
It dropped. So it's called Void Rot.
Yep.
So not Void Rot. Void Rot. Like wrought of iron.
With a W.
Yep.
Yeah. The story is a little hard to parse so far, but you're basically this like ghost-ish, like creepy kind of creature thing that can turn into smoke at certain times, but you're a form of a human. And something happens to the world, and there's all these creepy creatures wandering around. But it's classic Metroidvania. It's interesting because the rendering engine looks like was based off of Hollow Knight. And
so does the name.
Yeah, it uses the same.
Yeah.
Void, Hollow.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it uses the same like rendering engine, has a similar look and feel. Just if you took Hollow Knight and like modernized it, which is crazy to say that Hollow Knight's as old as it is.
Yeah,
now,
outdated, old trash.
That's right.
Yeah. So far, I'm not all the way through it because it just came out, but so far so good. It's not doing anything revolutionary aside from the ability to turn into smoke and kind of move around in different ways, but it seems solid so far. It won't live up to 9 Souls, but Chris, you got to play that one.
Yeah, I do.
I think it comes out on Switch soon. So check it out.
I need to play another Metroidvania. I played one recently called Islets. Which is super solid. I didn't mention it on the show, not because it wasn't good, but it didn't necessarily do anything original, but kind of what you were just referencing to avoid rot. Game doesn't necessarily have to have like a new novel original mechanism if it's just solid. And it was. Islets is really good. It's just, it feels familiar, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's kind of how this one sounds, you know?
Yeah. But it's a little bit in the horror vein of things, so threw it out there.
Close enough.
That's all I got.
Sweet.
Nice.
Destroy me with another one of your Halloween quizzes.
Oh, yes. Look forward to this every year, guys. It's Halloween trivia time. So if you've been a listener to the podcast for a while, you know we do this every Halloween. And I usually put a lot of horror slasher type trivia on there, and the guys fail miserably.
Just stump us real good.
So I'm not doing that this time. I've mixed it up. I've changed the trivia. There is no 80s slasher. There's no Jason. There's no Freddy Krueger. There's no Michael Myers.
No Christine.
No Christine. No Carrie. None of that. Instead, I've got 2 categories tonight. Okay? We're doing candy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
And we're doing Harry Potter.
Yep. I thought this was coming.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Which is close enough. It's Halloween adjacent, right? We got witches and wizards and wizardry. So
A theme that we could also carry over if we wanted to make it part of the Christmas episode.
Exactly.
And my daughter was just telling me tonight, she was like, I want to be on the episode. I want to be on an episode. She would die to be on a Harry Potter quiz. She's read the series like 18 times at this point.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
She would crush this. I tried to keep the questions pretty basic. I threw in a couple of harder ones, but I was
Some book-based questions.
I want to try to see you guys like exceed a score of 5 this time. We'll see how it goes.
All right.
All right.
I think I've gotten negative scores most times thus far.
Yes, no punishment for wrong answers, Bill.
Yay.
But if you start buzzing in prematurely without answers, I'm going to punish you, okay?
All right.
All right.
Fair enough.
So, as per previous rules, once I read the question, if you want to buzz in, you say answer, and then I will allow you to answer, okay? Cool. All right. Cue the scary music. Gotta have the background music. All right. Question number 1. In Europe, they call this candy bar a Mars bar, but in the USA, we call it a what?
Answer.
Yes.
Milky Way.
That is correct.
Wow.
Coming out strong out of the gate.
Coming out strong.
Seriously.
Didn't see that coming.
Because there is a Mars bar in the U.S., so.
There is, but you don't really see Mars bar on the shelf here. But basically, a Mars bar is...
I bought a Mars bar when we were in Iceland. That's why I know.
Aha.
Is that how you knew that?
Well, I knew that before. but
Oh, okay.
That's why I bought one when I was in Iceland, because I like Milky Ways.
Yeah. Okay. In a related question, question number 2. In Europe, they call this candy bar a Milky Way. But in the USA, we call it a what?
Twist.
No punishment for a wrong answer. Take a guess.
All right, answer Mars bar.
Incorrect.
The question is, what do we call this?
So in Europe, they call it a Milky Way, but here we would call it a what? So what is Europe's equivalent of a Milky Way?
Answer.
Yes.
Three Musketeers.
That is correct.
Oh, wow.
Are you looking at my sheet? What's
No.
going on here?
Not looking at anything.
I need to hide the answers. All right. Jason's off to an early lead.
I was like, what's the other thing that's close to a Milky Way? And they're basically the same thing minus the caramel.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Logic. All right. Number 3. What was the occupation of the inventor of cotton candy? Kind of need to know what this is called in Europe again to get this answer. If you
Answer.
Yes.
Is that a sheep shearer?
Incorrect. But I'm curious what you think it's called. Sheep shearer. I love it.
Oh, no. I know what it is now.
Oh.
Can I re-answer?
Well, I'll give him a chance, and
Okay.
if not, I'll give you another guess. Bill, Jason, got anything? No. Okay, go ahead.
Is it a dentist?
It is a dentist.
Oh wow.
I had the vowel wrong. I was thinking candy fleece.
Yep. Yeah, it's candy,
It's candy
floss. It's candy floss, not candy fleece.
Which is ironic because cotton candy is like the opposite of flossing.
Yeah.
It's drumming up business.
There's a weird irony in that, right? That a dentist made cotton candy, because that's got to be probably one of the worst things possible
Oh yeah,
for your
it just
teeth.
cakes directly on your teeth.
Oh yeah, it gets stuck in your molars. Yeah. I hate cotton candy. Okay, for these next 3 questions, I'm going to give you a slogan, and you need to tell me what candy it belongs to.
Are we solidly in the candy category until you tell us otherwise?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of.
I need to be in the right genre.
We're still in
frame of
candy
mind
right
here.
now. I'm going to give you a slogan. You tell me what candy it belongs to.
Okay.
Probably going to need to be quick on these. You ready? Melts in your mouth, not in
Answer.
your hand.
M&M's.
That's correct. Okay. Taste the rainbow.
Answer. Skittles.
That's
I know my candy, man.
You do.
Seriously.
Oh, I should have made this harder. Okay, this one's a little tougher. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't.
Answer.
Yes, Bill.
Almond Joy.
That is correct. I would also accept Mounds.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna wait till you get to the good candy.
All right, so at this
Yeah,
point,
that's gross.
Jason has 4, Bill has 1, Cameron has 1. This is the point where we're going to transition into the Harry Potter trivia.
Okay.
Here's your
Fine.
chance, Cameron.
I only have to get one right. All right.
I did not make these super hard, okay? So you need to be fast, probably. All right, question number 1 of Harry Potter. What is the name of Harry Potter's pet owl?
Answer.
Cameron.
Hedwig.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not as quick on these.
here he comes. Don't disappoint your daughter right now.
I know.
Question 2. What is Harry Potter's Patronus?
Answer.
Yes,
Oh, I know this one.
A stag.
that is correct. Well done, Cameron. Even calling it the stag. I love it.
I knew that one.
Bill, you over there?
I am.
You okay?
I knew that too. I knew all those just a half a second later.
Okay. This one's a little harder. Okay. In Order of the Phoenix, what was the name of the secret organization formed by some Hogwarts students to help defend themselves against the dark arts?
Answer.
Yes, Bill.
Dumbledore's Army.
That is correct, Bill.
Yes.
Wow.
Well done.
Well done. To give you even more props, Bill, I gave this quiz to my kids, and they did not get that one.
Oh wow.
So well done.
Why? Thank you.
And they're big Harry Potter nerds. Okay, there are actually 3 answers to this. Okay, so if you feel like you can give more than one, I'll let you give as many as you're able. Okay. Name one of the 3 unforgivable curses.
Answer.
Yes.
Crustaceous. Crustaceous.
Incorrect.
All right.
Answer.
Yeah, you missed. You missed.
Oh,
All
man.
right,
Well, I know the other ones.
Cameron.
Avada Kedavra.
Yep.
The Killing Curse.
You know another?
Cruciatus, I think is what Bill was reaching for.
Incorrect. Not quite. You're close.
I have no idea.
Bill, I'll give you another shot.
I don't know.
You don't know it?
I don't know. Oh, but that is. I know
It's
Crucio.
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 It's Crucio.
Well,
Crucio.
but okay. But the technical name for it is the
Oh, okay.
Cruciatus Curse.
Oh,
Crucio is
okay,
the
okay,
invocation.
I got you,
You
I
gotta
got
get
you.
technical with you. Can I get a bonus
I'm
point
giving
for that?
it to you. All right, smarty pants. Give me the 3rd one then.
I'm getting there.
This is the
The
one
killing
everybody
cur-
always
The killing
forgets.
curse, the torture curse, and then there's the other one that.
The command curse, the one that makes people
yeah,
follow orders.
Yeah,
basically.
it's the one that in D&D we would call hold person or
right.
I can't remember it.
Yeah. Imperio.
Yeah, that's right. It makes them dance like a puppet.
You're right. Yeah. All right. Oh, we're getting tight now. Cameron now has 5.
Wow.
Jason has 4.
Yeah.
Bill has 2.
Failing.
It's all right. I won last year. I'm okay with that.
Okay, question 5. Which Hogwarts student was responsible for killing Voldemort's snake, Nagini?
Answer.
Yes.
God, it's the.
Gotta be ready to answer, Bill.
Answer.
Yes.
Neville.
Neville Longbottom.
Yes!
Right.
I was about to buzz in. I wasn't sure if Chris was.
I knew he's the guy who knew the
Neville
potion.
Longbottom.
Well done.
We still got 4 questions.
Oh, here we go.
There's still a chance.
Okay.
I made it. I made it
to
longer
5.
quiz
I
this
consider
year.
this a win.
Yeah, y'all are doing well. All right. What are Voldemort's servant killers called?
Answer.
Yes.
The Dementors.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I know what you mean now.
Yeah.
This is a good question.
3, 2, 1. You can answer just for fun, Jason. You know it, Jason?
No, I know what you're talking
Okay.
about now. I can't think of the name.
The answer is Death Eaters.
That's it.
God.
I did good this year. This is more fun than me saying what camp was Jason at, and everybody's like,
What?
What?
crickets. All right, very good. All right. Y'all need to be fast on this one. And because y'all are doing so well, I'm going to insist upon a complete answer for this question. You'll know what I mean when I ask it, but it needs to be complete. What is Voldemort's real name? Okay, since nobody jumped on
All right,
it immediately,
answer.
that means including the middle name.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I know. I know the first and last.
I only have the first.
If I could draw it out, me.
You're right. We're not going to let you put all the words
All the-
reorganized. All right, Bill, go ahead. What do you?
It's Tom Riddle, but I don't know
Yeah.
the middle name.
I'll give it to you. It's Tom Marvolo
Marvel.
That's it.
Riddle.
Yeah.
All right. So this is interesting. Here we go. Jason 5, Cameron 5, Bill 3, but there are 2 questions remaining.
Okay.
Bill,
I'm
you
excited.
have chance for a 3-way tie here.
I just remembered that his name is the words the letters rearranged to say I am Lord Voldemort.
I am
Right,
Voldemort, yeah. All right. What position does Harry play on the Quidditch team?
Answer. Oh, sorry.
Seeker.
That is correct.
I couldn't get the word. Remember the word I had to say to
I couldn't
guess.
remember the word answer. I just
That's
wanted to say
exactly.
secret. I was like, I have to say something else first.
Right, exactly. That's what made me stuck.
Oh, nice. All right, our final question. Who is the Half-Blood Prince?
Answer. Severus Snape.
That is correct.
Ah.
Congratulations, Cameron. You were
sorry,
this year's
sorry,
winner.
sorry if you haven't seen the series yet.
Yeah, that's right. That's a bit of a spoiler.
I don't think I would have known that, and I've read the entire series. I don't think I would have known that.
You
Oh,
read an
really?
entire book
That's the
called
whole
The
book.
Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah.
Dude, this was a long time ago, man.
Oh man, that was good times. It's way more fun when y'all know the answers. I need to do
yeah.
better next time.
Thanks, Chris. That was
Did
fun.
right.
Yeah,
all
that
those.
was well done. Good job.
Thank you, my friends.
All right. Well, mine's gone.
We were drinking
But
a
we
cocktail.
were
I still
drinking
have some left.
lovely decorative jack-o'-lantern cocktails.
That's right, man, guys. I'm just pulling out all the stops tonight. I want you to know that I'm getting in the holiday spirit.
Oh yeah.
I'm feeling festive. I've said it before on the podcast. Halloween is like the launching point for me.
Yeah.
I'm just like in a good mood for like 3 months in a
There you
row.
go.
You know,
That's
I
awesome.
just like love this time of year. So I stepped it up a little on the cocktail tonight. Just didn't do another variant of an old fashioned like I've been doing for the last 2 months. This is called the jack-o'-lantern cocktail. So this is 1.5 ounces of cognac, half an ounce of an orange liqueur, 1 ounce of orange juice shaken, and then you top it with like 2 to 3 ounces of ginger ale.
Okay.
But what you really have to do to make this drink cool
Yep.
is on the glass, I applied some stickers that look like the faces of jack-o'-lanterns. So on Amazon, you can actually get these little small stickers that look like jack-o'-lantern faces. And then as a garnish, you cut a wheel, like an orange wheel,
Yeah.
and you set it on top. And then for the stem, you use a
Looks
little...
exactly like the top of a pumpkin.
Looks exactly like the top of a pumpkin. You put a little
Genius.
lime peel to be like the stem.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll post some pictures of them on the Discord or something
Be
because
fun.
they look kind of cool. But
Yes, if you haven't joined the Discord, you're welcome to. You
absolutely.
can talk directly to us and other fans of the show.
That's actually a good segue. Cameron, why don't you, just to close out our banter, we've got some small, quick announcements here and some topics. So why don't you lead us into that real quick?
Yeah, so we don't talk about it a ton on the show, but we try to mention it about every episode at least a little bit, and that is that we have a Patreon if you're new to the show. And we've had 4 tiers for a long time, and we actually have one tier that no one has ever joined. And you know what?
Right.
That's totally fine because, to be honest, the benefits associated with that weren't really distinct from a lot of the other ones. And what we've discovered with Patreon is that we have a lot of folks who have joined at the copper miner level. So we have now copper miner, gold miner, platinum miner is the one that's going away, and gem miner. And we want to kind of shake it up a little bit. Backstage is kind of the main offering that we have up there on Patreon, and that's a podcast exclusively for our patrons. It's kind of an after the show recording sort of breakdown of either lists of games that we like or some topic that we want to discuss or something like that. And
or our top 100 lists. Yeah,
and we have a lot of fun with that. The folks that listen to that show seem to really enjoy it.
Yep.
And that's something that we offer to everyone in every tier. And so what we wanted to do to kind of change things up a little bit is to define those other tiers a little bit better. So we're other than the copper miner, we're going to offer a gold miner and the gem miner tier. And they're both going to have a new benefit we're tweaking it a little bit. So historically, gem miners have had this benefit where basically once per year of membership, you get to work with us, talk to us directly, and basically help us pick a game that you want to see on the show, that you want to see us review. And so that means we'll actually acquire the game, we'll play it, and we will review it. And as a gem miner, what you get when you do that is we'll actually give your rating and your final thoughts on the show. And historically, what we've done with that is we've read your final thoughts on the show, but we're going to change it up a little bit and make it a little more interesting for gem miners, in that what we want to do is allow you to record your final thoughts in like a 1-minute sort of summary, kind of like we do it.
Like maybe 2.
Yeah. So a
enough
1 to 2
time
minute
to give
thing
your thoughts.
to really hash out what you think about the game that you helped us select and that you wanted us to review. You give your rating, and we're gonna put your audio just like you were right here at the table with us on the show.
You get to hear your voice on the air.
But if you're a gold miner, and we have 11 of these that are part of the community, thank you so much for being gold miners. We're offering those people retroactively, and anyone new that wants to join that tier, the opportunity to basically choose a game for us to review on the show. It goes through the same process where you kind of have to, work with us a little bit so that we make sure that we can acquire the game. Right. It's not a 3-hour, 4-hour long, 18xx game or something.
We're going to do like World in Flames or something like that.
So as long as it kind of falls within the criteria of the show and we can get a hold of it and all that stuff, usually those are pretty good candidates for us to review. So there's a little flexibility there, but the goal is that it's a game that you want us to review.
Yep.
So you can join the gold miner tier. You can get that benefit immediately. We are going to give preference to the 11 folks who are already gold miners. We're going to do theirs first. But any new gold miners, we'll get you on the show.
Yep.
We'll get your game reviewed on the show. And we've got another couple of gem miner episodes coming up where we're going to work in our current 2 gem miner games.
And we already have those games figured out.
Right, we've got those worked
I'll give you
out.
a little preview so you guys maybe don't know, but we're going to be doing Billabong.
Okay.
And you're going to be excited about this one, Jason. The Saga of Noggin the Nog.
Oh, nice.
It's happening.
That one's good.
It's been on my shelf for forever.
One,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a bigger one, but it's co-op.
Cool.
So
I'm excited about Billabong, too. I tried to acquire that one a long time ago, and it's hard to find.
Interestingly, Billabong is a Spiel nominee. I didn't know that.
Nice.
It's an older game.
So we'll knock out that criteria as well.
Yeah. So
and that's part of the reason that we're doing this is that you can even hear from our just feedback about the games that we're going to review on behalf of our gem miners. The reason that we're expanding this offering to 2 different tiers, with a little tweak to kind of keep some difference between them, is because we actually really enjoy engaging with you.
Yeah, we want community engagement.
Our audience is the reason that we continue to do a podcast, and so we want to make sure that we're offering perspectives on games that you guys actually care about and are thinking about and wondering what other people think about them. So I won't belabor this point anymore. You can go over to patreon.com/Hidden Gems Podcast. You can jump on there and you can get access to backlog of 32 episodes.
It's crazy
of the
we've done
Backstage
32
podcast.
backstage episodes.
Yep.
I'm shocked we've done that many. It doesn't feel like we've been doing that long, but
yeah. So
Wow.
you can jump on there. We're not going to do a new backstage episode for this one because this is kind of a special holiday
this is a
episode.
longer episode for us. Yeah.
But if you want to jump on there this time around, you're welcome to. You can get on there. Join us at Copper Miner. We're super grateful for all of our patrons over there. You guys fund the show at this point. You're usually the people that are interacting with us on Discord as well. So we're grateful to our 29 copper miners. I wanted to kind of give the numbers this time. 29 copper miners, 11 gold miners, and 2 gem miners. Thank you guys so much for supporting this show, for being part of our community. It's a lot of fun. You guys are the reason that we keep doing the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Nice, Cameron. Well, I think that's it for our extra special long banter for this extra special episode.
Fun.
So we get into the games, right?
Let's
you got
do
your fun voices queued up, Cameron?
I do.
Yes, master. All right, let's do it.
Where are we going?
To show you what is left of the world and why I need your help so badly. This is the last news report before the BBC went offline. By then, they were only broadcasting via the internet. Television services went down months before the end.
Peter took a seat in the armchair inside the facility's rec room in front of a wall-mounted television screen. He watched the video with absolute interest.
Good evening, world. This is our final broadcast before we go off the air indefinitely. We hope one day to return. Over the last 3 years, the world's population has dwindled from 9 billion to around 400 million. The streets of major cities lie in ruins, buried beneath mountains of our dead. Rescue centers remain operational in some areas, but more and more close each day. The best advice now is to gather whatever supplies you have and take comfort in whatever it is you believe in. Gather your loved ones close and pray that this is not mankind's extinction. The final flu has culled humanity to the brink, but infection rates have plummeted now that the viral bridges are broken. There are no longer enough of us left to allow this evil to destroy us without effort. Now that humanity is sparse enough, the virus can no longer jump from person to person with ease. As we die, so does it. Stay away from your neighbors, keep to your family units, and humanity may just rise again. Find comfort in the fact that the CDC and World Health Organization are still operational. If there is a cure, they will find it. Stay safe and stay healthy. This is our final broadcast. The year is 2042. Good night and goodbye, world.
It's all gone? Everyone is dead?
Not everyone, but enough people that I haven't seen a soul outside this building for years.
What is this place? What was I doing here asleep?
This is the Medalist Institute for Advanced Science. You were a scientist here, Peter. One of the things studied here was cryogenics. When it was clear that the virus was at our doors, the staff here decided to put themselves on ice. I and 3 other researchers remained behind to continue working for a cure. That was 13 years ago now.
Where are they now? The 3 others that stayed behind with you?
Dead. 6 years ago, we were finally forced to go out and forage for supplies. I stayed behind while they went to check out nearby a shipping warehouse. Out there, they became infected with the virus. They never made it back. They knew they couldn't endanger my work here, so they stayed away. Their bodies are out there somewhere. That has always troubled me.
Why did you stay behind?
Somebody had to, and it was my work, so it was a logical choice that it be me who stayed at the facility.
Your work? Weren't you a team?
To a certain extent, but it is I who is in charge. Everything we have towards a cure is down to my research.
But you've hit a brick wall?
Far from it. I just need some assistance, that's all. We can talk about that when you are more oriented. For now, you can relax and come to terms with things.
Am I the first person you've woken up?
Yes.
I'm tired.
Of course. I have a room made up for you. I'll take you there now.
Thanks.
Peter barely slept, and when he did, he had the strangest dreams. Dreams that suggested nothing of viruses, extinction events, or careers in science. He vaguely recalled a woman, but whether it was his wife, a sister, or his mother was unclear by the time he awoke. He still could not understand why he had been woken up when no one else had. Perhaps it came down to supplies. Maybe Faraday could only spare enough for one other person and had picked Peter. But why? And was the world really dead? Had he really been asleep for the last few years? It was insane. He found and switched on a lamp and blinked against the light. Then he wondered how the building had power if the world had ended. Did the facility have its own generator? It must. He looked outside. The building was situated in open grounds, long overgrown. Cracked pathways peeked out from beneath thickets of weeds and grass. Were there really no people left out there?
It's really beautiful, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
The wilderness out there. The world has been paved over, but slowly nature is taking it all back.
How do you get food and water?
We have plenty to eat here. Before my colleagues died, they looted that shipping warehouse and delivered its contents here so that I could continue my work. Enough canned food to last for years. They were true heroes, Peter. Brave men and women. Water is not an issue either, as long as it's rationed. The two of us will be able to sustain ourselves comfortably for a good while yet. The facility has everything we need. Speaking of which, I brought you this.
Peter looked at the cup of blue liquid in Faraday's hand and raised an eyebrow.
The same stuff you gave me yesterday when I woke up? What's in it?
Your vitals will still be unsteady. You need a statin, electrolytes, vitamins. This is a concoction necessary for a person waking up from cryosleep.
Am I in danger?
Not if you drink that. Heart attacks are a problem when coming out of the frost. For some reason, the human heart does not wake up as well as the rest of the body.
Peter sighed, then drank down the contents of the cup.
It's time to make the monsters. For the evil science fair, players must... going into the...
You sound like
Harry Potter...
you sound like the...
It's the monsters from Harry Potter. Dear reader.
No, you sound like
Carey.
you sound like Harry Carey.
Yeah.
Hi. Hey.
Harry Carey,
Hi.
Igor.
Let's make the monsters. Okay? All right.
Joey Lumbermouth shows his namesake.
Joey Lumbermouth shows his namesake. All right.
I'm leaving all that in. Go ahead.
All right. It's time to make the monsters. For the evil science fair, players must complete the most monsters by the end of the game to win. Roll the dice to collect the parts you need, but be careful. If you have an unfinished monster on the table, another mad scientist might steal your work. Oh no!
Thank you, Igor.
Thank you.
Yes. Igor, the monster making game. Also known as Code Cracker. Published in 2008 by R&R Games and Piotnik. At the time of this recording, its VGG ranking is 15,533.
Only the good stuff.
But would you believe it? This game is designed by Reiner Knizia
Yeah.
I would.
in the 15,000s.
I wonder what Reiner Knizia's average BGG game rating is.
Dude,
at
he's
this
all
point.
over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely all over
When
the
you have
place.
that many, I mean,
You've got a bunch
They
of
can't all
high
be
ones,
winners.
but when you've got one down in the 15,000, I
Yeah.
imagine it pulls your average down.
This has to be one of the farthest down we've ever reviewed. Only a handful of times I feel like we've
Smiley
gone above
face.
like 12,000. Yeah, exactly.
Smiley Face was in like the 20,000s.
Crazy. Now, I think Smiley Face was like in the 10 to 12s.
Oh, really?
Higher, closer to 1 than this one,
Wild.
if I'm not mistaken. But anyway. All right. Brief rule summary for Igor. Igor, the monster-making game, is a light dice-chucking filler game, Jason, where the players are trying to reanimate monsters by providing their needed components in order to score points. The players will roll 5 6-sided die on their turn. These dice show components on 5 of their 6 sides: a skull, metal gears, electricity, bones, and a metal screw. And on the 6th side of each die is printed the word Igor! Exclamation point. In addition to the 5 dice, there's also a deck of 18 monster cards. These cards each have a point value associated with them and a certain combination of ingredients that they require. So, remember how I was talking about how the dice have ingredients on them? So, a very simple example would be maybe a monster might require 2 gears, where a more complicated one might need like 2 bones, 2 gears, and an electricity or something like that. So it's like a recipe fulfillment. They need these components that you're going to be trying to roll, basically. At the start of the game, 3 random monster cards are flipped face up in the center of the play area, and then the game begins. On a player's turn, they will begin by rolling all 5 of the dice. Every time a player rolls from the active dice pool, they must use at least one of the rolled dice results. So again, if you rolled some gears, you could use those dice and place these little black chips on. So let's say you used 1 gear. You could take a black chip and cover up 1 gear on one of those 3 cards if one of those monster cards required it. Additionally, if you rolled a screw and you could place on one of the cards that requires a screw, you could do that as well. You can cover up as many things as you want to or are able on your roll. Okay? In addition, if you roll any Igors, you may also take those dice and place them in your used dice pool. So every time you use a dice to place a chip, or if you want to save an Igor, you put them in like your spent dice. Once you have used at least 1 or more dice, you have the option to stop rolling, or you can roll your unused dice in the hopes that you roll 1 or more symbols that can again add to any unfinished face-up monster cards. If you choose to stop, you have to say, you care to demonstrate for us, Cameron?
Throw the switch!
Yes, you say, flip the switch, Igor! And then you will receive any cards that are completed. So all of the components are covered by discs. However, and this is important, any monster cards that are incomplete, so they have some discs on them, but not all of the ones to cover all the components, remain out in the center display with the chips left on the card to where other players may be able to finish them. So that was if you stop. If you choose to continue rolling, but all of the faces that you roll cannot be used, you bust, and your turn immediately ends. In addition, any completed monster cards that you would have collected get discarded out of the game. Now, I need to explain the Igor result, because this is really, really important part of this game, too. You may be asking yourself, what's the deal with these Igors that we're setting aside in our used pool? If it happens that once you have rolled all 5 dice and you didn't bust, all of your dice were either Igors or you were able to place components on a card, if at that point, once you've worked through all 5 dice, you have at least 2 or more Igors in your pool, you pick up all 5 dice again and you can go again. And you can start rolling again. And you can do that over and over again. As long as you're still able to place and you have at least 2 Igors in your pool. Play will continue on in this way with the dice passing around the table from turn to turn, with players trying to roll to complete as many valuable monster cards as possible. The game will end once all of the monsters have either been reanimated or discarded out of the game. At this point, all the players total up their total value of all their acquired monster cards, and the player with the highest total value is the winner.
I think we could have played 4 games of Igor in the amount of time it took you to explain.
Exactly. Yeah. Quick playing game, right? This is definitely like a filler style game.
Perhaps
for sure.
1 episode too late.
What's that?
Perhaps it comes 1 episode too late.
What did we talk about?
Did 30 minutes or less.
Oh, well,
time.
2 episodes ago.
Oh man, that was 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It was the last episode I was
The
on.
last episode you
I don't
were
know
on.
what you guys do in between when I'm not here.
We reviewed 3 ultra dry Euros that you would have hated.
I edited part of that episode.
But we're actually pretty good, solid games. All right, so as Jason mentioned, on the surface, this looks like a a really light filler-style dice rolling game, and it is. I would argue that it is. But was there anything interesting here to keep you engaged in this little light dice chucker?
Push your luck.
Yeah, let's not let Jason start. Cameron, you go ahead.
Yeah, do you really want me to start?
No, I want to start. Push your luck games are fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Usually, generally.
Yeah.
Like, when you have, that's the key decision, I think, right? Like,
yeah. Elaborate on what you mean by push your luck.
Yeah. So so anytime you have a game like this where you're gonna pick up your dice and roll them again, pick up a dice and roll again, and then you have to do something with it, but there's this potential for you to bust.
Yep.
I would call that like push your luck, and obviously this game, like what you're trying to do is you're trying to score as many points or like set up as much good for yourself without kind of going over, right? Or putting yourself in a position where your last roll, like you either can't place out or you can't re-roll. And so what you want to be able to do is like roll and place out a bunch of things and fill up those cards, and then and then be like, great, now I'm going to re-roll.
Yeah, because potentially you could get all three of them.
And I've done it.
If you roll really well.
It's really fun when you're like, yeah, I'm gonna call it, and you're pulling down 2 cards. Like, that's pretty cool. But there's always this potential of like you don't get what you need, you don't get the multiple Igors, or you don't get to place out everything that you need to place out, and then you bust and you get nothing.
Yeah, well, because the more things you cover up, your probabilities are decreasing, right? Every time you cover something on the card, you're giving yourself one less place to be successful, right? So the more and more you push your luck, the more your probability is decreasing, right?
Yeah. So there's always, I think that's fun. I mean, I think the simplest push your luck game that I can always think about is Ink and Gold, right? And that's just a simple decision. Do I stay or go? Do I think that my next, opportunity to choose is going to go good for me or poorly for me? And you get to a point, maybe there's more like odds calculation that you could do in your head if you're able to do that kind of stuff. I'm not, but I don't know. I think there's a fun element to that.
Yeah, and I think taking that one step forward, the interesting element of the push your luck here is you're pushing your luck in that, can I get more than one card on my turn? Right. Can I get 2 cards or 3 cards? But there's also that component of, if I do push my luck and get greedy to try to get more cards and I bust, any incomplete cards stay on the table, and I'm setting up my opponents to be able to swoop in and maybe get like an easy card, right? So you kind of have to balance, like, when should I just be satisfied here, take what I got, so that I don't keep adding discs onto cards and then busting out, and then they only have to get like one component down to score that card, right? There's like a decision there of like, when should I just stop and be happy? You know what I mean? But
there's also the kind of the converse side of like, if you're behind because maybe you busted a lot before, you kind of have this incentive to like just go for it.
Bill, you want to jump in? We're taking all of Bill's points.
No, sorry, you guys, because I have nothing to say now. Because that was the only thing I was going to add.
Go. Well, then elaborate.
Go ahead, Bill. Sorry, we're on a roll over here.
I was going to say there is that decision that's made in the vacuum, but just like you were pointing out, Cameron, that when you're behind, it influences that decision of whether you're really going to do that or not. Because if somebody has 3-5 cards in front of them and you have nothing, then you really do feel like you have to push your luck. And you start, when you do the math on it, you're realizing
you make irrational decisions.
Or you make irrational decisions. Right? But I really can get this when I have like a 12% chance of rolling the dice to get me there. And then you're giving the person who's already ahead, like you're saying, you bust the dice so that are almost always completed, but you didn't really have necessarily a choice, because if you didn't do that, you wouldn't get any cards either. So anyway, it's definitely a push your luck game.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, I'm excited about this.
Yeah. I am not universally a dice game hater. I do not.
A lie.
It's not a lie. I do not like this one though, and I will tell you why. Because
are we transitioning to cons?
I don't have any pros.
Jason's talking.
Okay, can I say one more pro then, and then I'll turn the floor over to you? Is that okay?
I suppose.
I do like. Then it's all yours, man. But I just want to mention this one more thing, and there are a few games that use this, usually in like a combat type of scenario. This idea of what designers call exploding dice, and what that means is if you roll certain symbols, you get to roll again, right? Mm-hmm. Like a game like, what's it called? Arcadia Quest would be an example of like exploding dice. And so this game kind of incorporates a little bit of that of how do I manage these Igors, right? Because a lot of us were structuring our turns around not just trying to match symbols on the cards, but like getting Igors in our pool, so that we can go again, right?
Well, because it takes your odds from like really low chance of completing a card to, okay, now I'm back to high chances.
Because if you're rolling 5 dice, the odds of you matching something are better, right? And so I thought that was an interesting decision point too, of like trying to get my dice to explode so that I can roll a 5 again to complete more cards. I think that was just another nice little touch to the game, you know?
I agree with that. And I think the other sort of comment about it is that I found myself, because of that feature of the game, you should say, like sometimes I could have placed, say, 2 of my dice that I had just rolled out onto cards, but because I only had, say, 1 Igor, and I was like, well, the chances of me getting another Igor if I roll 2 dice that are remaining versus 1 dice remaining are higher. So even though I could place this other one out, I'll place out 1 and then I'll re-roll 2 dice instead of 1 die
to try to get that second Igor.
To try to get another re-roll.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, Jason, go ahead. Bill, did you want to add anything?
No, I'm so excited to hear what Jason has to say.
I don't know if my opinion on this is as solidly formed as it's been on some other games that I've ripped in the past, but I don't necessarily disagree.
It already.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily disagree with anything that y'all have said. All the things that you've mentioned are there. I guess, I mean, like any dice game, you can roll really poorly.
Sure.
I don't think I rolled double Igors a single time. Right? I never got my dice to explode. And this is not me whining. I think that...
But is it?
It's a little bit.
No, listen. I think that there is something... I think there is like a universal disposition that is like set against me when it comes to rolling dice. You guys can contradict me if you think differently, but every single dice game I play, I feel like I just roll absolutely horribly. If there's a game that has to do with luck, like what was it, that card game that I was excited to play, Magnum Opus.
Oh, Magnum Opus.
That might be on the show at some point in the future if I can ever get over how horribly I did the first time we played. Anything that deals with luck, I am just horrible.
It's like God's got an angel just watching you to see if you're rolling dice.
Yeah,
and then when you do, he turns around and is like,
extra.
God, he's rolling dice again, and everyone in heaven laughs.
Dude, all of y'all were like having fun playing this game. Every time I would roll, I would be like, that's a terrible roll. And I would roll again and I'd be like, that's worse. And I think what bugs me about this game, to get to like the actual my actual thoughts about it, I think the challenge with this game is that most dice rolling games or most luck-based games give you a way to mitigate bad luck. This game gives you no way to mitigate a bad roll, right? Because it forces you to play a die, right? So every time you roll, like at least in like a King of Tokyo style game or Yahtzee or whatever, usually you can be like, okay, well, I rolled that one. I pick everything back up and just re-roll. In this game, you can't do that. You're forced to play something.
Yeah.
And everything that you play without the ability to actually close the deal is helping the next person, right? Which I get is a feature of this game, right? But basically, that leaves me with, if I roll a terrible roll from the start, what are my options? To mitigate that bad roll, I can say, well, I keep rolling and potentially keep helping everybody else without actually collecting anything for myself.
Forgo the rest of your
or I just stop playing, right? Like the alternative is I just don't play my turn, which is equally bad and just horrible and boring.
Yeah, and then you wait 45 seconds to take your next turn. Oh, the horror!
And the exact same thing happens again, right? So
that's a you problem, though.
It's not a me problem.
You rolling bad is not the game's fault. That's your fault.
Yeah, I don't know whose fault that is. It's the universe's fault, apparently. I don't know. But, like, I didn't roll a single double Igor, and I think I collected 1 card the entire time, right? And that's not because I made poor dice rolling decisions, right? Like, I'm convinced of that.
It's a dice roller.
It is.
I feel like I need to break the fourth wall here and look at the listener right now and say, if you're sensing a theme that's going to come for the rest of the episode, you are correct in that intuition. Continue, Jason.
No, I think this actually brings up a great point. That when it comes to games that are like, let's say, built around dice rolling, is there, I'm going to ask it as a question, rather than make a statement. So is there like an ethos that you sort of have to like step into as a player when you're going to sit down and play a game that could be the difference between whether or not it's fun?
Yes, I fully believe that. Like, and I can go into a dice rolling game.
Do you have a hard time stepping into that mindset?
Well, sometimes, yes. I will, like, complete honesty. Sometimes, yeah, I lean into the I hate dice rolling games. I hate like randomness. But also, you guys like throw that on me a lot more than I actually feel it sometimes.
You ask for it.
I think that I'm trying to look at this game objectively, though, from the perspective of as a dice rolling game. Does it have good features and bad features, and how does that stack up to me? I think the fact that it has no mitigation in it, and it forces you to help other people in order to continue to attempt to do something, right? Like, you can say, well, it's push your luck, but it's also like, if your luck is bad, the only way to continue...
Can I just stop you real quick, though?
No.
Just hold on a minute. I'm going to have to just rebuttal. I get what you're saying, but can you at least acknowledge, would you agree, based upon your plays and seeing how the game was going as a whole, it was just that for that particular game, you just weren't rolling well? I mean, that wasn't happening to Bill. That wasn't happening to Cameron. It wasn't happening to me. It was happening to you, and I get it that sucks, but I think that's just like weird odds. Like, you could argue that the next game, you would be rolling Igors like crazy, right?
I played the game twice. The first time, I was rolling off the charts, and I won, and it was like, arguably, yeah, it was a lot more fun to be like, you know what, I am going to roll because I feel like I'm ahead, and like, I'm just going to go for it, and then I would get what I needed, And then the second game, I don't think I finished ahead of you. If I did, it wasn't by much. Like, we both did pretty poorly.
I came in very far last.
Yeah, well, we both did really poorly. I had one card.
Yeah. No, and for a game that is as short as this one, I can almost forgive it for that, right? Because, yeah, all right, great, you rolled poorly, pick it up and do it again, right? But, I don't know. The fact that you can have such a poor experience in a game and not have really any way to even try to do differently, right? Like, there's not like, okay, well, I'm rolling poorly, so let me try something different.
Yeah. So I
let me risk it all and try.
But the question is, because your biggest point of contention, if I've got this right, is that the fact that you have to place a die is like the biggest problem. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah.
Okay, so my, I guess, counterpoint there is that if you weren't required to place a die, the game could last freaking ages. Right? The fact that you have to push a die out ensures that the game progresses at a pace, right? Yeah. Because the game doesn't end until you get through the entire deck of cards, right? So if no one is ever picking up those cards because everyone's rolling poorly and just passing essentially on their turn so as to not help their opponent who's sitting to their left, then like the game would never end, and that would actually make the game worse.
Yeah, but basically what Jason wants is he wants a dice game with no luck.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No.
I want a dice game where I can eliminate all my bad rolls and make all my rolls good the time.
You gotta give me a fair shake here. I'm not trying to just rip on this game, right? I'm trying to look at it. We've played a lot of dice rolling games on this show. We've played a lot of dice rolling games in general, right? And I think one of the things that we look at in those games is like, what is the decision space, and like what are the mitigation things?
Yeah, but those are long games.
It doesn't matter, right? Like, even in a short game,
it does matter.
If you give me no way to change strategy, right? There's no different strategy to take. It's like either I roll well and I place things out and I collect cards, or I roll poorly and I stop playing.
You're suggesting there's no strategy or decision points in this game, and I would disagree with that.
I'm not saying
there are definitely decisions that matter in this game. Yeah, if you're just rolling really bad, there's nothing you can do about that. Yeah. But if you're not in one of the weird outlier scenarios that you were in, and everybody's just rolling average, which will happen most of the time, there are meaningful decisions that occur in this game. Yeah. I believe that.
Yeah. I'm not saying that there aren't decisions to be made. Hear me. But I'm saying that in terms of filler games that are this short and the options that we've played on the show, like, is this going to rank up there for me?
I think that's the best point that you could make about this.
Bill,
Is that it just
Bill,
doesn't,
let's
it
get
doesn't
Bill.
shape-
Let's get Bill
shape
in
up
here.
to
Bill's
other
checked
fillers.
out.
Oh no! Are we ready for final thoughts? Because you guys have beat this horse to death.
I'll be honest. I didn't think we were going to talk about Igor this long.
I didn't either.
All right, Bill, you start us.
Okay, I'll start. So, I mean, it is a Yahtzee style game, right? And there is some decisions based on what dice do I pull in and my rerolls parts of it. So, and there is, to me, a good dopamine hit when you happen to be rolling well, and kind of Jason to.
But is it that you rolled well, or is it that everyone before you rolled poorly?
There's some of that.
Some of both.
Absolutely some of both. But this is a game that you have to have the mindset of how will I do in a best 3 out of 5 kind of scenario, right? Because if I'm doing bad this time,
I don't want to play this game 5 times. I'm sorry.
Well, but there's also, when do you pull that first card out? Because the game that I lost, I was more aggressive about trying to get more than one card, and I would lose my cards. In the game that I won,
it would have been great to have the decision to try to take more than one card.
Okay, we get it, man.
I'll stop now.
Right. I played more conservative, and I actually got cards, and actually kind of got maybe a lead that at least put pressure on other people to maybe push their luck a little bit. So anyway, it felt like a strategy, whether it was a real strategy or not. So I had fun playing it if I played with the right group of people. But
apparently, I'm not the right group.
That was Bill's signature line. You got to get the right group of people for this game.
Which means not Jason.
People sufficiently
The
tipsy.
cursed dice rollers club.
I will agree that to me, it's not a great game, and I'm going to give it a 3. But I did have fun playing it while we played it.
Fair enough.
So you wouldn't ask for it, but if people pulled it off the shelf, you would.
I would tolerate, because you don't have to tolerate it that long, right?
Okay.
You just try it, and
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and do this since this is an extra long episode. It's been like 15 episodes since we've gone over our grading scale. Can I do that real
go
quick?
for it, man.
Since we just were talking about that.
Yeah, what's a 3, Chris?
We're crappy at this. So if you're like a new listener and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? What is a 3? All right, real quick. A 1, we rate on a 1 to 6 scale. A 1 means we think the baddest game. The baddest game. Wow. Okay.
How many of those whiskeys
Yeah.
have you had?
Woo! Got a long
Chris
time.
is drinking the high proof.
Yeah, this is
bourbon
129
over there.
proof Elijah Craig. I'm fine. It's going to be okay.
He doesn't have to drive anywhere, folks. We're
I
at
live
his
here.
house.
All right. So if we rate a game a 1, that means we think it's bad, but we think it's bad because we think there's something mechanically wrong with the game. There's some sort of flaw in the design that hinders it from being fun. A 2 is also bad, but we think it's bad just because we don't enjoy it. We just don't find it to be fun. There's nothing mechanically wrong with it. We just don't like it. 3, as Bill was just saying, is just it's the okay game. It's the meh game. It's not bad, really, but it doesn't excite us. If people wanted to play it, we might jump in, but we're not seeking to play it. 4, good game. We enjoy it. We would pull it off from time to time. We find it to be enjoyable. 5, above average, excellent. We think it's a great game, actively excited to play it. And then 6 are like the best games. These are our favorite games. These are games we are always up for. We love them.
Does a 6 really exist, though?
Not for you.
Not for Bill.
They'll still
Don't
have
listen
0
to me yet,
sixes.
and then, question judgment. Okay.
All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well done.
All right. Go ahead, Cameron.
All right. So, final thoughts on Igor. Now, I know it sounded like I was like ferociously defending
Yeah, you
Igor
were really
here against,
playing devil's advocate
against
over there.
Jason. Right off the top, I'm going to give this one a 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for kind of a really specific reason. And I think it's actually the justification that Jason gave right there at the end. This game is a filler.
For sure.
And when it comes to fillers, when you're gonna, thread the needle on that amount of time to play, I do think there are a lot of other games that I'd rather be playing. That said,
Hold that thought. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
I might reference that in a minute.
so that said, like did I hate my plays of this? Did I find it excruciating? Like, not at all. And I think that is the definition of a 3. It's kind of like, I was there. I played that game.
Yeah.
And I have that experience a lot when I come and play games, because a lot of the games that we've played,
Chris picks.
yeah, a lot of the games that Chris likes are games that I'm kind of like, I don't know, I was a little bit lost and I came in and
This
kind
is
of
Bill's
like
game, by
last
the way.
place and that kind of thing.
That Chris chose.
But-
you volunteered it.
But did I dislike it? Like, no. And honestly, I kind of like dice rolling games.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, like, I come to dice rolling games with this kind of like, I'm going to kind of send it thing. A lot of times I take the risk that I know I shouldn't take, and it usually costs me, but, I have fun with it.
Yeah.
And the length of this game means that it, like, isn't that big of a, loss.
Right.
If you just are at the table and you don't win, you know?
Yep.
And sometimes it's just fun to roll a giant handful of dice.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Nope.
Right? So, so I give it a 3.
Nice.
I could
it.
say I had fun, but, like, if I had the same amount of time, are there other games that I would reach for? For sure.
Okay.
I'd play Ink and Gold rather than this.
Okay.
But Ink and Gold's one of my, like, more favorite games. So,
Totally get it. I'm going to hold that thought. Are you done?
yeah, I'm all done.
Okay. All right. Scary beer. Scary beer. Jason's drinking scary beer. Take the edge off. He's just getting started.
Everybody
folks.
know Jason's beer
Buckle
is...
your seatbelts.
Jason's beer is on theme.
It's going to be a long night for Jason. Okay. For me, for a filler game, and that's what I want to emphasize here. This game is a filler game through and through. I think this game is pretty good. Yes, you're just rolling dice, but I am of the opinion that there are meaningful decisions occurring in there that we have gone through in the review. I'm not going to rehash them out. There are a lot of games like this. Roll For It is a game that comes to mind. Zombie Dice, these light dice rolling games. I think this game is better than those. I think it has more decisions than those. But it's fast, right? If this game was 5 minutes longer, I would give it a 3. Okay? But it's so quick. And so you mentioned, like, I think it's as good. And this is, I get what you're saying. But my comeback to what you just said, Cameron, is you would say, well, if it was between this and Ink and Gold, I would rather play Ink and Gold. This game plays in a third of the time that Ink and Gold does.
Yeah,
and that's
actually fair.
the point I'm making is that literally there are only a handful of games I can think of that you could pull out and be like, hey, Baglio is running 10 minutes late. What can we play? This, you could totally do it.
I like that you
Right.
threw Baglio into the
Yeah,
bus
totally.
just now.
But like Ink and Gold,
He's usually 10 minutes late.
no way. Take it easy.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Like, Take It Easy is not a long game. You're not playing Take It Easy in 10 minutes. Fits, maybe, probably not. Like, this is a quick game, and that's why I'm going at the 4. Like I said,
we were
if it
playing
was,
slow. I don't think this was a 10-minute game.
dude, you can play this game in no time. Dude, you're just rolling dice.
Yeah, but there's
If
a lot
every-
of cards. Like,
If
it
everyone
took us
knew
a
how
while
to
to
play,
get through it.
I don't think it's that long
I
of a
agree. I
game.
think you could knock it out pretty quick.
Yeah, this is a short game.
You could play it fast.
This is a filler game, 100%. So, and I think that's where it kind of shines, is that it's just real easy to get to the table, goofing around until somebody gets here. I think it succeeds in that. And
Thematically, it wins too.
I was pleasantly surprised by that. Not to mention, I mean, it's way better than 15,000. I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
is that fair to say?
That's fair.
Minus Jason. Bill, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I'm going to give it a 4. I'll buy it from you, Bill, if you want to get rid of it.
All right.
I think
we'll make a deal.
I think it's decent. All right, Jason, go ahead, fire away. I
Now
won't interrupt
that
you.
now that my opinion has been completely invalidated by everyone else at the table before I've even given it.
It's all in fun, Jason. Go ahead, give it your 2, 1 maybe even.
No, I'm not going to give it a 1, although I considered it. Mainly because I think the fact that it forces you to play a die and doesn't give you any way to mitigate that, it's not broken. But I am giving this game a 2. I don't necessarily disagree with the thoughts around the table, right? It is short. It is dice rolling. That's what it's meant to be. I think that as a dice rolling game, though, like would not disagree with the statement that it has meaningful decisions. I think it does. I don't think that the presence of a meaningful decision means that it's a good game, though. I think that the presence of the lack of mitigation... That was a weird way to say it. The presence of the lack of...
Presence of lack of
Yeah.
mitigation.
Rewind. I think the lack of mitigation to the dice rolls and the fact that it forces you to play or just stop just isn't fun, right? And yeah, you can say, well, you just rolled poorly and, play again the next time and it'll be better. I don't want to play again, right? And even if I had been rolling well, I'm not sure that there's like enough here that grabs me above other games that I've played that are equally short and equally, in the same vein.
Give an example.
No.
See, again, that's my point. What's a game that is this short that you can think of?
On the spot? I don't know.
Yeah.
Falling.
Okay. That's good. I mean, it's not dice rolling, but yeah. Falling would be a good example. Yeah. There's a handful of games that...
This game is nowhere close to as short as Falling.
Falling
is a literally 2-minute long game.
Falling is one of the shortest games
this
ever.
Game is...
Right.
Totally.
It took us 20 minutes.
No.
It did.
No, I don't agree with that.
We're going to get Ken over here to start timing our gameplays. It was definitely not a 10-minute game. I assure you.
Okay, 15.
Goodness gracious. All right. I'm giving it a 2. I didn't like it. End of story.
So if you need one other reason not to like it, is the box is too big for the game.
The box is huge.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's ridiculous.
The game is literally like 20 cards and 5 dice, and the box is like half the size of a full-on
it's
game
absurd.
box.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's a minus.
For sure.
tried to be objective there as much as possible. This is not just because I rolled poorly. I think that there are legitimate
defending your
there are
position,
legitimate
Jason.
reasons why when you roll poorly the game sucks. And like a game shouldn't suck just because you roll poorly. You should
Jason,
have ways to like mitigate it.
I respect your opinion.
No, you
We're
don't.
just joking around with you.
I
I
am.
do, but your abuse has only just begun.
Right. I'm
right.
silently over here thinking that you're a sore loser.
So there is one more.
You big baby.
There is
Not a
one more
sore
question that we have to answer before we can move on, and that is, Chris, where do we get this game if people want to try Igor?
Nowhere. This is crazy. You ready for this? Unfortunately, there are no copies at Noble Knight, our sponsor, who we greatly appreciate, and there's only one copy on the BGG Marketplace. This game is impossible to find.
Because it's
a
rated
reprint of something else,
15,000 on
though, isn't
BGG.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I didn't look at Code Cracker. So if you're interested, maybe look on BGG and look at Code Cracker. Maybe that one's more. I should have done that, and I totally forgot. This one is more recent than Code Cracker. This was 2019, I think I said.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find this version.
So if you don't have any games that purportedly play in 10 to 15 minutes, according to your host Chris Alley, hold him to it. Beat him up on Discord if it's not true. Since
this is so rare, I will trade it for your special edition Burgundy.
Okay, yeah.
1-to-1.
Yeah, we'll see about that, Bill. I want it because I think my kids would enjoy it. Honestly,
There are 2 copies of Code Cracker on the Geek Market.
okay.
There you go.
There you go.
So you can get your hands on some version
Yeah,
of
it
it.
might be hard.
All right.
Put us to task.
Well, those are our thoughts on Igor.
Igor.
There you go. Here, let me take that for you. If you're feeling rested, I will show you what we're doing here.
Peter joined Faraday at a containment unit, one of those glass boxes with the rubber gloves hanging inside.
Inside this glove box is the end of the world, a live strain of the HBS AG11 virus.
There's no way the virus can get out?
Of course there is, Peter, but not if we do our jobs correctly. Don't worry. I've been working on this little monster for more than a decade, and it hasn't gotten out yet.
What do you want me to do?
How are you at making coffee?
Peter smiled, not offended but relieved that his task would be so mundane, so safe. Once he got his memory back, perhaps he would be of more use. So he made the coffee and kept Faraday company while the man worked. It was also alien to Peter. The instruments, the computer readouts, the science talk. He didn't know an electron microscope from a gene gun, but Faraday spoke about it all as if Peter should understand. Peter was eager to learn. He wanted it all to come back to him so that he could help, so he paid close attention. Each day, beginning at dawn, he would meet Faraday in the lab and drink the blue liquid. Then they would check over the results from experiments left to run overnight. The virus was still undefeated, only ever hampered at best. One morning, Faraday explained to Peter that the virus was man-made, that somebody had messed with the Australian antigen, commonly known as hepatitis B. The reason the virus was so hard to beat was because it was manufactured. A week passed, and Peter began to feel at home. He still often dreamt about the woman, but was still unable to place her in his previous life, his memory blank. Faraday seemed unconcerned. Faraday was studying data today. There was little practical that Peter could assist with, so he had been given the day off. Since waking up at the facility, Peter had been confined to his room, the lab, or the rec room. He was beginning to feel claustrophobic. Peter headed down the corridor, rattling locked door handles on either side, bored and anxious. He was stuck in the middle of the building, nowhere to go. He eventually resigned himself to spending the afternoon in his room with one of the paperbacks that Faraday had provided him with. He climbed onto his bed and chose a book called The Hunger Maze. Opening the book for the first time brought a warm, cozy feeling to Peter and gave him an overwhelming certainty that he was an avid reader. He was about to turn the pages to the beginning of the story when he noticed something written on the inside cover. It was the looping blue ink of somebody's handwriting.
Faraday will kill you. Don't believe his lies. Get out. It's too late for me. I'm infected.
What the hell? Who had written it? And why? Peter had awoken that morning in fear. There was no brief 10-second window of bliss that usually accompanied semi-consciousness. He snapped right awake with utter clarity. Faraday will kill you. Peter cursed whoever had left the message for not being more concise. What exactly was going on? What should he be scared of? Who was Faraday and what was he up to? Was the virus even real? He was due at the lab, so that was where he went. Whatever the truth about Faraday, the man had not attempted to harm Peter. It was better to stay calm and observe. He was trapped with this man, and it would not pay to be rash.
Good morning. Have you been up long?
Ha! I never sleep. Day and night possess no distinction to me. We're getting close, Peter. I can feel it.
To a cure?
Yes, what else? Put the kettle on. I'll fill you in.
How long since somebody else was here, Dr. Faraday?
I told you, Peter. We've been alone for a long time now. My colleagues have been gone several years.
Did any of them ever stay in the room I'm staying in?
Not that I remember. The scientists were based on the top floor. It's only since being alone that I've moved into the lab permanently.
What about the paperbacks you gave me? Did they belong to any of your colleagues?
Why so many questions?
Just curious, trying to get back my memories.
Has anything come back?
Not much. I've been dreaming about a woman. I don't know who she is.
I wish I could help you. You and I never worked together directly.
How many others went under with me?
28.
Where are they now? I mean, where are they all sleeping?
They're in the basement, Peter, where I woke you up. Do you not remember taking the elevator up?
Vaguely. It's all a bit of a blur. Would I be able to go down and see? I'd like to know more about the facility.
I'm afraid I cannot allow that, Peter.
Why not?
The facility is very sensitive. We cannot afford any breaches. By containing ourselves here, we decrease the chances of anything going wrong. I only went down to wake you because it was a necessity.
I'm a prisoner here, then?
Of course not. I'm telling you what is at stake. If you try leaving the building, you will become infected and die. If you go wandering around the building, you run the risk of an accident. There are only the two of us. We need to stay together. Keep an eye on one another.
Have you tried to make contact with anyone else out there?
I kept a radio channel open for years, but nothing. There's a CDC facility in Atlanta and a military science facility in Nevada that I have hopes for, but I can confidently say that we are the only two people left alive in Seattle.
Well, then what are we doing here? It sounds like humanity's done.
But if only one man and one woman still exist, then there's a chance for mankind to return from the ashes. If we can destroy the virus.
You really think you can do it?
I'm certain of it.
Sometimes, if the night is clear and you look to the sky, you'll be able to see strange objects zigzagging between the stars. They are not shooting stars, nor are they meteors or flying saucers. You are fortunate, for you have just witnessed a race between witches on their flying brooms.
Cameron, we were so happy when you show up.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow. That was a new all-time high for you.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
great.
man.
All right.
I forgot who I was there for a second.
Dude, you were in it. You were method acting right there. You were in
So,
character.
turns out I don't have a wart on my nose. Amazing.
All right. Wicked Witch's Way. www.wickedwitchesway.com. Published in 2006 by Asmodee. Designed by Bruno Cathala
Yeah.
and Serge Laget. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
Sergey?
Serge Leger.
Sergey Laget?
Serge Leger, I think.
Serge. There's no I at the end.
Oh,
not
okay.
Sergey.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Sorry, Serge. All right.
Bruno Cathala.
Yeah.
It's a big dog.
Yep. Currently ranked on BGG 3,901. All right. Quick rules. In Wicked Witch's Way, players are rival witches racing towards a finish line by doing mental gymnastics in real time, I guess is the best way to
That's
say
a
it.
good way to put it.
The game board is essentially just a fancy score track that runs from -2 to 22.
It's a race.
Which is also a weird range. But with all witches starting on the 0 space, or the starting line, once a witch has crossed the finish line, or the 22 space, the game ends. The first player to cross the line is awarded 25 victory points, and the second and third players to cross that same line are awarded 24 and 23 victory points, respectively, if they manage to cross the line in the same round. Players who've not made it to the finish line score a number of points equal to their current position on the track, and players then add in any point cards they may have acquired over the course of the game, and the most victory points wins. Mm-hmm. So, what are we actually doing then? So the race is played over a series of rounds in which the witches will compete to make the best, spells, potions, formulas, whatever it is. Each round, the player currently in last position is going to roll 9 dice into the game box. So the game box is kind of fancy looking. It's made to look like a spell book with an empty cavity in it where you roll the die, and then there's a flap with a ribbon on it that you can grab to flip it over and shut the box that hides all the dice from view, right? Mm-hmm. Each of the 9 6-sided dice that we're rolling have one of 9 different symbols on it, and each has either a black or an orange background. Okay, that's important.
Yeah.
So once the die are rolled, players are going to, as quickly as possible, come up with either the orange formula or the black formula. And I'll explain what those mean in a minute. But once a player has determined that they think they know one of those two things, they can flip the box lid shut and hide all the dice from everybody else, at which point everybody else is like, they just got to remember or hope that they have something.
Right.
So for a formula to be valid, so once this happens, everybody goes around in order and reveals their formula. For a formula to be valid, it needs to include all of the unique symbols showing in that color, orange or black, excluding any symbols for which the same symbol is shown on the opposite color.
Yeah.
So this is confusing. So I'm going to give an example.
Hence the mental gymnastics, right?
Yeah. So if 2 orange spider webs and 1 black spider web was to be rolled, then those dice would all cancel each other out, and they are not included in either of the formulas, not the black one or the orange one. However, if it was just the 2 orange spider webs that got rolled, no black spider web, then a spider web would need to be a part of the orange formula.
Right.
All right. Once the box lid has been flipped shut, each player is going to reveal their formula, which they do by using cards. So each player has 9 cards, one of each of the symbols, and they will place those cards face down on the table to denote which symbols they think is part of a formula, either the orange or the black. So then those cards will get flipped over. Each player declares which of the formulas they were going for. And if a player manages to get all of the correct symbols for one of the formulas without any wrong symbols, you get all the right ones, none of the wrong ones, then they will advance a number of spaces on the track equal to the number of cards played.
Right.
And they receive a bonus. So then the bonus is dependent on whether you did the black formula or the orange formula.
Right.
If you do what that would be like. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you sound like me, Bill. The black formula gets you a black magic card, which these are basically just special ability cards, or they give you additional points, like I mentioned earlier. So those points will get added into your final score. If you complete the orange formula, you advance 2 extra spaces in addition to the whatever other number of spaces that you would move forward. If a player gets a partial formula, meaning some of the correct symbols but not all of them, but also no wrong symbols, then they advance the number of spaces according to the cards that they played, but they don't get the bonus.
Right.
And then finally, if a player makes a mistake, they get nothing. In the exception of if you were the one to flip the box lid closed and you make a mistake, then you actually get -2. So you go backwards 2 spaces.
It's a good rule.
Yeah. And that's basically it.
Yeah.
There's a slowdown mechanism for the leader, basically a curse token that means the person in the front can't get the bonus.
Correct.
Regardless of what they do, just to keep them from running away with it. But that's basically it. So
Nice.
Wicked Witch's Way. That was harder to explain than I thought it was going to be. So I think, the main point of this game, obviously, is this puzzle, right? So we're rolling die. Everybody's looking at the die at the same time, trying to figure out this puzzle before the box lid gets flipped shut by somebody. So what did you guys think about this? This harkens back in my mind to Ghost Blitz, which we talked about on the Spiel episode a little while back. What did you guys think about that puzzly nature of it?
I just realized that Ghost Blitz could have been a Halloween episode game.
Totally.
So I would call that a speed recognition challenge or test.
Real-time mental gymnastics?
I guess, but it's a whole visual processing thing. And if you're starting with me, we're going to jump right to the what do we find negative about this game. So I might pass for a little while, let you guys talk amongst yourselves.
All right, we'll come back to Bill in a minute.
Right, yeah, I'm going to play the part of Jason on
Was
this
this game a reminder that the synapses are not firing as fast as they once used to? Or
I have some research to share with you later.
Bill has printed articles.
I do. Footnoted, reference. I'm ready.
Go ahead,
His top 100 list still incomplete.
Not incomplete, just morphing and evolving.
Evolving, yeah. Oh, we're looking to me now?
Yeah, or do you want me to start?
No, I don't mind.
Go ahead.
Obviously, anytime that real-time games are challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
And the reality that I think I'm coming to realize is that it doesn't matter who you are, what level of intelligence you currently wield. It's hard to be faster than everyone else that you're playing with all the time, right? Which is why games like this can exist. There are times that I felt like I was fine, I worked it out quickly enough, and there were times that I got smoked and I was like, great, I have nothing. I'm not even sure that I can score 1 point and know one of the cards from the formula. One thing I did notice is that you do kind of have to go in with an approach. I don't want to call it a strategy quite, but this is what I'm going for. I'm going to try to do the orange, or I'm going to try to do the black, but you still just only have a couple seconds to sort out where the duplicates are and remember it. If you're not the person that flips it over.
Yeah. There's a lot to process in a very short amount of time. As you said, there's the duplicates, right? So in the example Jason gave, the spider webs, if there's black spider webs and orange spider webs, they eliminate. They're not viable in the formulas, right? But if there are 2 orange spider webs, it's viable, right? Yeah. So that plays a weird trick on your mind because you're seeing multiple of a symbol, which your inclination is to say it's no good, but if they're the same color, it actually is good.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to remember it and forget it.
So you're so you're subtracting out what's eliminated, then you're having to remember what's not eliminated, all of those. And then on top of it, there are a couple symbols that intentionally
they look
very
other.
similar.
The lightning bolts.
Like the ear and the spider web.
Yep, and the lightning bolts. There are two lightning
There's
bolt
a lightning
things
bolt with
that
a circle and just a lightning bolt.
Like one's in a cloud and one's not.
right.
Which is like rude.
Right. So that's intentional, right?
Yeah.
Like, so he's like, remember this, but then which one was it again? Making you second guess yourself, right? So I think that phrase that Jason used in the rules, we use it on the podcast on the mental gymnastics. It's definitely there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's things in there to confuse you. There's things in there to make you second guess yourself once the box is flipped, the lid is flipped. And I think it's very intentional. And now the question is, do you like that or you don't, right? And we can get to that later, but I at least thought that was clever and entertaining.
I'm there now, by the way, so go ahead.
What's that?
I'm there now. So, you know.
So yeah, I would say that. And then I'll add one more little thing is I think once you get to where you can maybe start to figure out the symbols, the next kind of level is, like you said, what kind of bonus am I going for, or how far do I want to move? If a lot of black dice are rolled and not a lot of orange dice are rolled, the potential for you to go very far on the track is likely there if you go for the black formula. But that's more you have to process, more you have to figure out in a quick amount of time, right? So that's another thing you kind of have to work through.
I would argue there's some push your luck in this game. In that respect, right? It's like, well, as soon as the dice get rolled, I can tell. Well, there's a lot of black dice. The black formula is long,
right?
So it's like, well, I can push my luck and I can try to go for black and try to remember all of that. But if I get something wrong, I get nothing.
And maybe somebody goes for orange and figures it out really fast and
and closes the box lid.
Right.
Versus I just go for the easy thing, do the layup, but make sure that I get something and potentially get that extra bonus, which is another 2, right, for the orange.
Yeah.
And for black, those special cards are huge.
For sure. Yeah.
So we haven't really talked about these like black magic cards, which they're pretty varied. They do a good amount of stuff. Like one, you can do both formulas in a round.
Yeah.
Right? Which in and of itself is a challenge, right? Just being able to try to remember both of them, but you can potentially get both bonuses.
Yeah.
Right. There's one that lets you, after the box lid is shut, just you get to open the box lid and look at it for another 10 seconds before you make your decision, right? Or you get to pull the leader back, or you get to like move yourself forward an extra couple spaces, or it just has points on
People
it. People
can't pass you. Yeah, there's all kinds of cool things.
So all these different cards. I mean, it's a pretty big deck of cards.
Yeah,
that all these do different things, right? So it's not just the memorization part, right? That is a huge part of the game, of course. But I guess the only other thing I would say is that I would argue this game is way shorter than Igor, right? This game plays fast.
It was fast.
And so this one felt way faster to me than Igor. And so, all right, Bill. Lay into it.
The game that I played felt
I feel like our
it
roles have reversed.
It took a month. Yeah, so here I'm going to give you guys some career advice here.
Okay.
So Cameron referenced intelligence as we were playing, and so that just first put me right on my edge. It's like, this game is for intelligent people.
That's not what he said.
No, it's like this is on IQ test. No, he did. He did. So there are two kinds of, well, there's multiple kinds of intelligence, but there's, in one model, there's fluid intelligence, which young people have, and for when you're an infant or whatever, they're taking in information at fire hose rates, right? And so you're characterized by fast visual processing, fast, how you're...
We experienced this.
This is why my daughter absolutely schooled us in Ghost
They smoked us in Ghost
absolutely.
Blitz.
So it'd be interesting for you to play your kids in this game to see how well they do. And then as you get older, and it actually happens in your 20s, because you start losing it, actually maybe even earlier, moving more to crystalline intelligence, where your brain is spending more time synthesizing the information that you pulled in through this fire hose so that you can move on. And the career advice to all of this is, when you're in your 40s and 50s, if you are staying in fluid roles, you may have more difficulty keeping your jobs as goes on, because you need to start transitioning yourself where the synthesizing part of information that you have is more important to what you do. So this game can teach you a lot, because I hated this game.
That's terrifying, because I'm 38 years old and I just began a career in which I'm going to be more creative than I've ever been in my whole life.
Well, but that can still be
Yeah, I feel like creativity is a different vein.
Yeah, that's different. You could be totally crystalline and be creative.
Okay.
It's like you need to write code in an 8-hour period that you may not be able to produce or something.
I see. Okay.
But anyway, I mean, I enjoyed it. I appreciated the two cards had two different functions, so that you wanted the blacks or you wanted the oranges or stuff like that. Yeah. But I will say that I felt like I was going for the layups. I was like, okay, what are the fewest dice that are in there? Let me look at those, see if I see matches up. And I still couldn't do it. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing to me that I couldn't.
I mean, on average, you had what? We had what? 10 seconds, probably?
I mean, it was like
Maybe.
really
Maybe less.
short for this group.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got a few right, but there were a few times it was like, I really want to get one of those black cards, and I thought I had it, and it was like, and then I missed one that I just didn't get.
Yeah.
So it was a frustrating game for me. So it would be absolutely fun to me to watch you guys play your kids. But are we in final thoughts, or are you just asking for me to...
I mean, my one con I want to mention is that Jason briefly hinted at the notes. I just want to mention it real fast. Is the curse token for the leader, and I tended to do pretty good in this game. I'm not saying this because it was affecting me. Even if I was in last, I would still say this. I hate things in games that punish people for doing well. It's just lazy, in my opinion. I see why they did it, so that somebody couldn't run away, I guess, and win. But I mean, if they do, well, good for them, right? I don't know. It almost encouraging you to sandbag. In one of our plays of this, I managed to win, and I didn't do that because I felt like I had enough lead to where I could hold on to it. But my thought was, I'm going to try to probably hang around in second most of the game to get those bonuses, because I don't want this curse on me, right? You should never be thinking that way in a game. You should always want to be in first, right? So I just don't like it when a game puts something in that discourages you from wanting to be in the lead.
I'm gonna counterpoint that one.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, go ahead. I mean,
because normally I agree with that 100%. In most games, I would 100% agree with that. You shouldn't pull back the leader just because they're doing well. I think this is a special category of game where natural ability and just natural mental processing speed comes into play, right?
Well, right, yeah.
For instance, Ghost Blitz, right? My daughter was just smoking us, right? So
she's what, 10?
And so
9?
in a game, yeah, and in a game like that, I feel like there is going to be a range of mental abilities to do the task that's in front of you, right? It's not just I'm strategically ahead right now or I'm behind, right? And so because I made better decisions in the game throughout, I am in the lead and I'm getting pulled back, right? It's not that. This is a mental speed check, right? And so it's almost saying okay, well, if there's somebody at the table who is just really clicking with this mental task that we're doing, let's pull them back a little bit and give everybody else a fair shot.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not just you made good decisions and that's why you're ahead. It's your brain is processing this task that we're all being required to do a little bit faster than everybody else, which you could say, well, that's just my natural advantage and therefore I should win the game. And that's, that's fair, I suppose. But at the same time, it gives everybody else a fighting chance in a thing that's not necessarily just strategic thinking.
And I would say that it's fair that pointing that out is a weakness in the design of the game, right? If you have to introduce something that holds back the person in first place in order to...
Was it a weakness in game design, or is it just a natural consequence of designing a game that involves a mental task?
No, I think that's actually really fair. Right? That's a really fair point, yeah.
It's a game that involves a mental task that some people are going to be good at and other people are not.
It's
and you can make the argument that strategic games, it's well, some people are good at strategy and some people are not. But in strategic games, you're constantly making decisions about a bunch of different data points over the course of multiple rounds, multiple decisions, and you're given time to do that.
It's like trying to make basketball, to try to put it in athletic terms, right? Because I think that's the best comparison, right? Is this whole idea of like some people are going to be better at this specific mental task, is like some people are just going to be better at the physical
it's like a golf handicap,
required
right?
to play golf or play basketball, right? Now that person who has this raw ability feels handicapped because they have to like, you know, do this other thing in order to win the game. Do you see what I mean?
My argument to all that would be, then I guess this thought process was going through my mind is maybe I just intentionally fail, right? To work my way into second, right? Because I don't think you have to do that in this game, though.
It makes no sense mathematically to do that because you don't know. Because you don't know if the second person is going to actually win, right? You don't know if he's going to be able to get that extra bonus. It's like saying, I don't want to make more money because I get taxed at 30%, and if I make more money, I'm going to lose more money.
Why do you want to be in the lead in this game? It's bad to be in the lead.
But if you're skilled at the game, though, it is.
You have the punished.
No, right? Yeah,
I can't get black cards because I'm in the lead, while all of y'all are getting black cards, right?
Right, but you won anyway. Get black cards. Right?
No, you can't get the bonus if you're in the lead.
But you can get black cards. You don't get plus 2 points. You don't get an extra 2 if you get all the cards.
No, you can't get black cards. You can't get the bonus. That's what I'm saying. Like you that's why I was saying it almost encourages you to sandbag yourself unless you can get out to a really big lead and try to hold it. And in fact, the rules actually say at the end of the rules, like a good strategy might be to try to hang back into second and then win at the end. It actually says that in the rule book.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's odd.
That's a dumb thing. That's stupid.
Odd.
I hate stuff like that. No. You should always be trying to do your best.
I think that's kind of my point, is that I think what I'm trying to say from my perspective about this game is that I appreciate this desire to add this extra layer of complexity to diversify what doing well means, because it's so based around this like cognitive function feature. But I also don't think that it's good to encourage someone to like hang back in second.
I mean, that's what they say. Like at the end of a lot of rules, they'll have like a quote unquote hint section, like advice for your first game. It's like, maybe you should try to be in second. And it's just like, no, you should always be trying to win.
That's kind of weird.
You should always be trying to win, right?
Man, is this game broken?
Let's wrap it up. Cameron, go ahead. Let's go to final thoughts. We've been talking about this long enough.
We've gotten some interesting conversations though, about almost like game philosophy, game design philosophy, which I think is kind of fun. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. So for this game, I think I enjoyed the mental puzzle of like seeing if I could sort out enough of the thing to get it right or to try to get ahead. I was definitely middle of the pack in this one, and I was more curious about like trying to see what else was in that deck. Like I was like trying to get the black spells a lot. Like getting the orange thing and like trying to bump ahead was almost more of a matter of just trying to keep up, and I actually did manage to get 5 hidden points in those cards that I wouldn't have had otherwise. But on the whole, is it one that you want to go back to? Like I feel this way, and folks that have been listening to the show long enough, on the episodes that I've been on will know this about me. Like, I don't do super well, and I don't feel super great about myself when I'm playing like these like real-time games. Like, what's the most recent one that we played? The one that was like the building the land puzzle?
Luru.
No,
Mondo.
Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to like that game, but I just struggled because like the way that I've operated with like putting together complex things in like say my work and everything else, my software engineering career, and like even the way I approach furniture design and stuff like that, it's like this long sort of methodical, slow correction of like wherever I'm wrong. And so I don't put a lot of weight on like doing things super quickly, because I don't think that actually gives me the final best result. And therefore I just generally don't operate on a super fast level. So I'm just naturally at a disadvantage. Maybe I'm crystallizing at 38. Like, I'm just going into my crystalline phase of life, which doesn't sound so bad when you put it like that, I guess. But yeah, so I struggled with this one, and I think I also struggled for it to be like that fun, because you can play a game where you just get to where you're like, man, I just feel a little bit stuck. I just feel like I'm kind of just existing here. I'm not looking forward to the next round. I don't think I have an overarching strategy that I'm employing here. So because of that, I didn't like this game. Mm-hmm. So I've got to kind of give it a 2.
Oh, wow.
Like,
okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't like hate it. Like, I hate some 2s. There's a range of 2s for me. There's there's 2s that I hate, and there are 2s that I'm like, I'm not meh about this. I don't really want to play it anymore. But I'm not going to, like, drop a bomb on it.
Yeah. That actually leads into my final thoughts really well. All right, so going into my final thoughts, I'm going to keep it brief. But I'll just say this genre of games, these speed, quick thinking type games like Dutch Blitz and Ghost Blitz and things like that, this is a love it or hate it kind of genre. And the reason for that is there are some people, just based upon the way that they think and the way that their minds are wired, are going to excel at these kind of games, and there are some people that are going to suck at these kind of games, and it's not because they're not intelligent and they're not smart, it's just their brain doesn't think like this, right? And so you need to know that about this game. I think if you're a group, if you have a group of players who are good at this kind of game and all things were more or less equal, you could enjoy it. But I think most groups are going to kind of have an experience like we had, where some people do pretty well and some people struggle, and those people just aren't going to have fun, right? So you just have to know that about this game. Not to mention, this game takes those simple, quick thinking concepts that you see in a quick game like Ghost Blitz and adds a lot of stuff to it. These extra cards and things that I just don't think really helps it, right? So all that to say, while I did tend to do pretty good about this game, I'm not sure what that says about me. Maybe I'm not crystalline, Bill. Maybe I
think you're immature,
I'm
Chris.
immature thinking, more fluid. To me, this just isn't kind of my style of game. It didn't do a lot for me. If I'm going to play a game like this, I would prefer to play Ghost Blitz, because it's just faster, and it basically accomplishes the same thing. And I gave Ghost Blitz a 3. I'm also going to give this game a 3. But again, if I had a choice, I would just prefer to play Ghost Blitz, right? I just don't think this game does anything for me. So, it's just meh. Giving it a 3. It's not bad. I could see how people would enjoy it, but I think it's very situational.
I agree with that.
I agree with those thoughts. I think I was planning to say something similar, right? I think that this is the type of thing where certain people are just going to naturally excel, where other people don't. I would argue maybe that's like I said before, that's justification for the curse token, right? Of like, pull back the leaders, right? Pull back the person who might be just naturally better at it to give everybody else a fighting chance. Is it a great mechanism? One that feels good? No. Right? Does it help mitigate some of that natural ability thing? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I will say, too, it's also interesting to me how similar games, or games that revolve around a similar mechanic, right, of this real-time, like, visual recognition skills stuff can be so drastically different, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this game, I felt like I was able to... I didn't win. I wasn't even really in contention, I don't think, for the plays of this game that we did. But I did light years better than Ghost Blitz. Like, right. I hated Ghost Blitz.
Your daughter wasn't playing.
I was going to say, you also didn't play against her.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't feel like my brain, like every time we would get through a Ghost Blitz, I was like, yeah, I still have no idea why that's correct. Right?
So why was that the right object again?
Yeah, somebody explained to me why that was the right answer.
Do you feel like it was because of like the gradations of success?
No,
I think Ghost Blitz is like you either got it or you didn't, and this is like you could be partially correct.
Yeah, maybe. But it was also a different mental task,
okay.
Right? And so it's interesting to me, just as a mental exercise, like that I think different people process different mental tasks differently, right? Mm-hmm. Like in Ghost Blitz, my brain is just not wired to process whatever that combination of inputs
that inverse, yeah.
Like, just did not work for me, right? Whereas in this game, I was able to do it, where somebody else might struggle more, right, in this particular thing. Now, is that a plus or a minus to the game? I don't really know, right? Like these mental task games are difficult to rate. This one in particular, despite not winning, right? This is not I won this game, therefore I like it. I like this one more than Ghost Blitz. I was torn between a 3 and a 4 on this one because I do think like it played really fast.
Yeah, it did.
Maybe because Chris was killing us the whole time. But I mean, we played this game in like 10 to 15 minutes, right? And it was really quick. So
my infantile mind was just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
It's all the graphic novels.
Yeah, it's all those comic books and video games you play.
Video games I play.
And cancer cells you identify.
Right,
yeah. I feel like I'm bringing to this game a lot of the same plot positives that y'all brought for Igor, right? Where I'm like the inverse. I feel like Igor felt longer than it should have been and didn't give me any meaningful like mitigation or things to think about. In this game, it feels like this game was short enough to it's like, well, even if somebody is struggling and they just aren't mentally grasping it, it's a 15-minute long game. We move on to something else, right? Yeah. I think I do have to, like in the grand scheme of things, settle on a 3 for this one because is it something that I'm going to go to? Like, probably not, right? But I did enjoy playing it, and I do think it has some merit as a game, and I enjoyed the mental puzzle of it. But that has many, many caveats on it in terms of everything that we've already expounded on, so I won't go into it anymore. But I give this one a 3, but I did like it, so it could have been a 4.
Nice.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay. So I will say I was miserable playing this game. I will say this is not your game to like have your parents or your grandparents play with you, kind of thing, because it's just
definitely not that.
Yeah, it's hard to do. With that said, though, it's kind of funny. I'm gonna like take a little sidetrack here and do a little banter thing. I did when I was, and I meant to say this in the banter, so this is kind of my little banter thing. I got X-Morph Defense. Have you guys ever heard of that game?
No.
So it's kind of a bullet storm game, and it's also part tower defense. I like tower defense kind of thing. So it has a strategic portion at the very beginning where you're an alien landing on Earth, and so the audio has American generals that are putting together their armor and their air attacks to attack you, and that's what you're listening to, but you're the alien that's just like wiping out all these people all the time. But you have a ship, and you're flying around, and it's kind of a bullet storm game. And so it is all about being in that mental zone and seeing everything at once. And there are studies that talk about, like, boys are better drivers because they are like first-person shooters, or they play, and more in general, those kinds of games. So it does, I think you can build those muscles, and maybe because you like to play bullet storm games.
I was getting ready to say, like, shmups or bullet hell games are some of my favorite games.
Exactly.
Because I like that quick thinking reaction
exactly.
time.
So
like I said, I did decently in this game.
You did.
So maybe that's why, I don't know. My brain just kind of likes that.
Yes.
Trained your mind.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think there are muscles that you can exercise to make you better at things like that. And I actually was very intentional with like playing that, thinking, well, maybe this will help, kind of thing. But I probably don't, because I don't really want to play it again. But I mean, to me, this is, if you're curating games, I think this would be a great game, like you're saying, finding the crowd, but for like a mid-teenager crowd or something like that, where they're all probably in that same level, they would do it. Or if you're the parent and you want to give the kid a game that they can beat you at and kind of work on some confidence on or something like that, I think this would be great too. So I think there are situations where this game would absolutely shine.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm going to give it a 2 because I don't want to ever see this game ever again, kind of thing. But again, it has its place. Yeah. So it is, and I can see it being fun. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
It's good thoughts.
Those reviews are always so fair.
Yeah.
What's that?
They're always so fair.
Oh, well.
You always see the bright side of games that you give 2s to.
Well,
well, if we piqued your interest, if you want to check out Wicked Witch's Way, again, unfortunately, there are no copies at Noble Knight, but there are 11 copies on the BGG marketplace, so you can find this game. I would encourage you to pick it up if you like this style of game. I can see if you like these real-time, quick-thinking games, you could enjoy this, and you can find it on BGG, as I mentioned. So.
Cool.
And those are our thoughts on Wicked Witch's Way. Out of the corner of his eye, Peter caught the flash of something in Faraday's hand. He managed to push back on his chair and roll away just as the doctor swung the object toward his neck. It was a dripping syringe.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to help you, Peter.
By sticking me in the neck? What's in that syringe?
HBS AG11.
You're trying to infect me with the virus?
Yes, I'm trying to infect you with the virus. How else can I test to see if you're immune?
Immune?
Yes. What do you think you've been drinking each day since you woke up? The concoction is my latest attempt at a vaccine. I need to test it. I'm sure I have it right this time.
Whoa, I am not your guinea pig.
You would still be on ice if not for me. As good as dead already. This way, you have a chance to live.
Or die. You don't know that your cure will work.
Eventually, we'll have to. Every time I get closer.
Every time? How many people have you tried this on?
27.
I'm the last one? You've woken everybody up and tested your cure on all of them? Did any of them survive?
No. But you will be different, Peter.
Damn right I will be.
Peter grabbed the kettle from the counter behind him and swung it. It struck Faraday in the chin and spun him around. Hot water escaped and burned them both. Taking his opportunity, Peter shoved the mad doctor away and made a run for it. He made it out into the corridor before he realized that he had no place to go. The windows were sealed, and so was the stairwell door. The elevator was locked too. Trapped.
You fool! This is our chance to save the world. This is my chance to atone.
Atone? Atone for what?
For dooming us all. It was my mistake that the virus got out of the lab. It was supposed to be a cure for hepatitis, not a monster all its own. My wife was Hep B positive. That's why I was working on the project. I just wanted her to be better.
But instead of curing her, you made her patient zero.
Test on rats showed promise.
You didn't do it because you wanted to help your wife. You did it because you wanted to test your work no matter the price. Just like you're doing now.
No! I'm just trying to make it better. Do you think this is easy?
I'm sure it's easier than the previous 27 people you infected before me.
They were strangers. This is different. It was me who insisted you join the others in cryosleep. You wanted to stay behind and help me. I wanted you safe.
What do you mean?
You're my son, Peter. That's why I left you until last. That's why I didn't wake you up until I was sure I had the cure. I promise I can save you. Save everyone that's left.
Peter's mouth hung open. A flash of memory told him that what he was hearing was true. The memories were flittering back. He and his father had worked here together, along with somebody else.
My mother worked here with us.
Yes.
You killed my mother.
I tried to cure her.
But instead, you murdered her. You murdered everyone.
Please let me help you, Peter. I wouldn't do this if I wasn't certain.
Okay, I will not stay here with a monster like you, so if this kills me, so be it.
You won't regret this, son.
He injected Peter in the neck, making him flinch, but he held still until the virus was fully administered.
The virus will become contagious in a few hours, so we need to get you quarantined. I know it's going to work. You and I are going to save the world.
No, we are not.
He threw himself on top of his father and pinned him to the ground. He wrapped his hands around the old man's throat and squeezed. He thought about the other people infected and left to die, given paperback books to read while they waited for the inevitable. Faraday will kill you. Peter squeezed harder. The terror in Faraday's eyes did not deter him. Faraday will kill you. Billions of people had died because of this man, but it was the 27 who had frozen themselves in safety that he could not forgive. Faraday had woken them up and knowingly murdered them. Faraday struggled and squirmed, but his son was much younger and stronger. Slowly, the light faded from his eyes. Then he went still. Peter kept squeezing for another 5 minutes, making sure. He checked his dead father's pockets and found the keys to the facility, then got up and unlocked the elevator. First, he visited the basement, where he found several dozen empty cryopods, their occupants woken up and murdered by a trusted colleague. Peter was the last man in Seattle. But when he stepped outside the building, he didn't feel so alone. The sun was bright, and birds sang delightful songs. The world was not dead, only mankind. Maybe he would find other survivors one day, and they would all get a second chance. Maybe not. Maybe his father's last attempt at a cure was another failure, his final failure. Peter might be dead within the week. Only time would tell. Peter Faraday set off into the world, wondering if his nose was leaking because of a cold, or if he was coming down with the flu.
Karl! Something has awakened the dead. Streets are filled with mindless zombies, and one by one, the living are being converted to their ranks. Karl, you must band together with the uninfected few and find a way to survive. Welcome to Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded.
Awesome.
Shame.
Good Rick Grimes.
Rick Grimes.
Cameron grew a mullet while he was saying that.
That's awesome. All right. Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded. Reloaded, published in 2019. This is actually a reprint of Run, Fight, or Die, which was published in 2014.
But it's reloaded this time.
It's reloaded this time. Publisher, Gray Fox Games. At the time of this recording, its BGG ranking is 3,715. Designers of this game is interesting. Richard Launius and Jason Maxwell. So these guys often co-design together. Richard Launius is famous for designing very thematic games. So, for example, Arkham Horror.
A little foreshadowing?
Defenders of the Realm, if you're familiar with that. Elder Sign. Really big thematic games. Okay. All right. Brief rule summary for Run, Fight, or Die. Run, Fight, or Die is a Yahtzee-style dice rolling game where the players will try to fight off waves of encroaching zombies, trying to survive the hordes, all while doing things to score victory points. Each player's turn in Run, Fight, or Die will progress through 3 phases: the action phase, the mutant phase, and the advanced zombies phase. During the action phase, the players will roll 6 six-sided die in a Yahtzee-style fashion. If you don't know what that means, think Yahtzee, obviously, or King of Tokyo, a really common game where you roll the dice, you can keep some, you can choose to re-roll others, you can re-roll again, you can re-roll up to 2 times.
3 times.
3 times, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I guess re-roll 2 times.
You can you roll and re-roll twice, right? So after your third roll, you're then locked in at that point. You have to accept whatever you've rolled. Okay. Once a player is done rolling, they will then execute the results of their rolls on the die. So as I mentioned, these are 6-sided die. So let's go through each side of the die. The first side would be the bat. This is your close range melee combat. So each player has their own personal board in front of them that has 3 zones on them. Zone 3 is they see you. Zone 2 is they're coming, and Zone 1 is they're on you. So basically, you have these little zombie miniatures that move from Zone 3 to Zone 2 to Zone 1 to try to damage you or kill you, basically. So what the bat does is it lets you kill 2 zombie miniatures in your Zone 1, the zone closest to your character. The gun will only let you kill 1 zombie, but you can kill a zombie in any zone. So it has range. In addition, there's a miniature known as the mutant zombie that sits in the middle of the table, and you can pop the mutant zombie as well. It doesn't clear anything on your board, but it might give you points. There's chips that you pick up when you shoot him that could score you points. Number 3, Run. This will allow you to move a zombie back a zone, or if you move a zombie from Zone 3, you can transfer a zombie from your Zone 3 to the opponent on your left Zone 3. So that's always fun, adding more zombies to your opponent's board.
Especially when Chris sits to your left.
Yeah, just pile them on, right? Just add as many as possible. Result number 4 is the search action or the backpack. One of these dice will let you take a loot card. These cards are super helpful in helping you kill zombies like chainsaws and axes and all kinds of cool stuff like that. 2 or more search icons will let you draw followers. Followers are helpful characters that, depending upon the point value of them, will either help you or hurt you. The high point value ones actually are negative. So, for example, our favorite would be Infected Tim, right, Bill?
My favorite for sure.
Infected Tim came out a few times in our plays, and basically, Infected Tim is just a liability. He causes bad things to happen to you, but if he stays alive to the end of the game, he scores you a lot of points. Whereas the low-value followers don't score you a lot of points at the end of the game, but they can help you clear zombies off your board and stuff like that. Side 5, the Explorer action, or the map, will let you search a location. If you roll 1, you do the bad effect of the location. If you roll 2 of them, you do the bad and the good effect. And if you roll 3, you get to do just the good effect of the location. And these can be like drawing victory point chips or getting loot cards, things like that. And then finally, the zombie head. These are interesting. So if you roll a zombie head in the Yahtzee rolling, if you roll zombies, that locks that die. Those die cannot be re-rolled. And every zombie head you roll adds to the number of zombies you add to the board, your personal board at the end of your turn. I'll explain that a little more in a minute. But one other thing, or 2 other things about zombie heads that you should note is every player has a character that they control, whether it be the jock or the soccer mom or the cheerleader or whatever, and they all have special abilities. And special abilities always incorporate zombie heads into them, so it's a way that you can use zombie heads to execute something really powerful. And then lastly, if you roll 5 or 6 zombie heads, it actually takes a really bad thing and turns it into a good thing. You draw victory point tokens and none of your zombies advance, but you're taking on risk when you do that. I'm sure we'll talk about that in the review a little bit. So those are your 6 die. Once you've rolled all your dice and executed those actions, you'll then go to the mutant phase. During this phase, if the mutant zombie is active, you must draw a mutant card and suffer its effects. These cards are always bad. And then finally, during the advanced zombies phase, all of the zombies will advance 1 zone forward and new zombies will get added to zone 3. So if you have any zombies in zone 1, zone closest to you, they move on to your character. You have to suffer damage. You can either allocate that to your followers, which might kill them, in which you will lose their victory points, or you can add it to yourself. But if you take too much damage, you can die. All the other zombies will march 1 zone closer. Again, they're hoarding, they're encroaching upon you. And then, importantly, in zone 3, you will add 3 zombies always, a base 3, plus another zombie for every zombie head that you rolled. Okay, unless you rolled 5 or 6 zombie heads. Play will continue on in this way until either one player dies, or the mutant zombie is killed by the players, or a location known as the Long Road is revealed out of the location card deck. Once one of these parameters is met, the players will score points for their remaining health, their surviving followers, and any leadership or mutant zombie tokens with VPs on them. Whoever has the most points wins the game. That's generally how you play Run, Fight, or Die.
Well done.
All right, so as I mentioned, this game is designed by Richard Launius, and again, he's very famous for heavily incorporating theme into his designs. Again, Arkham Horror would be a classic example of this, that Cthulhu mythos style, where you have the insanity, killing monsters, jet-setting around the world, Defenders of the Realm, fantasy-based, slaying monsters, killing dragons. And this one, you're killing zombies. Mm-hmm. You've got hordes of zombies marching towards you, trying to eat your brains, right? And you're trying to fight them off through this Yahtzee-style dice rolling mechanism. So I would ask you, do you feel like that he really captured that theme here in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I feel like this game captures the theme really well. Like, you constantly feel like you have just these waves of zombies coming at you, and you're just mowing them down with loot cards or with baseball bats or whatever, right? The tension of that just wave of new zombies coming at you, I feel like is really well done. Yeah. So.
Yeah, even before you start the game, I mean, you get your character card. You're looking at your zone cards that have the 3 zones, but you're looking at this huge pile of zombies in the middle of the table, and it's kind of impressive. It's like, do we really need that many zombies? And then as soon as you start playing, I mean, they come out, and it does give you that sense of dread, angst.
Oh yeah, your
board
board can get really full.
Oh, exactly. And when you talk about the zombie horde coming, you feel it in this game. So I mean, it hits the theme in spades to me for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think the places that you find this is like my favorite thing is when a game kind of threads this needle of like the game mechanisms like correspond with thematic elements, meaning that like the game mechanisms make sense according to the theme. So like you find this in places like the special abilities of your specific characters a lot, and so it'll be I think you're like the prom queen, and so you have like a move that's like you're popular, and so it helps you to acquire more followers more easily. It's like perfect. That's exactly what you would expect the prom queen's like special ability to be. And then I found like an item. I think that was another good example. That was like, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it was something like fireworks, but it's an attack card on somebody else. Yeah. So you take out a couple zombies of your own because you used it essentially on somebody else, and what it is you're shooting out fireworks like on someone else's like area, and so it draws zombies that are on you away toward them, like you would imagine fireworks would do to sparkly objects and zombies. So I was like, that's cool. That's well done. It seems well thought out. It doesn't just seem like they sort of pasted on the idea of these different things onto these game mechanisms to try to make them work.
Right. They got really high and watched Zombieland. And then it's like, okay, let's do that. That's a great idea. Let's do that.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the followers too. Like the followers, I found some of them to be like really humorous, what they were going for. There's one, he's like a cultist and he's worth a decent amount of points, but he kind of like wants to die. So if he dies, you immediately get to draw another follower.
The punk brawler who just basically, when you acquire him, just punches you in the face and you take a damage, but then after that, he's just like doesn't do anything.
He's a damage sponge for you. There's so many like cool ones. And then we talked about Infected Tim. He's a great card because you really feel it. Like he feels like he's bit. Right. So what happens to Infected Tim is if he gets enough damage and dies, he becomes a zombie.
Oh no, that's somebody else. He's
no, that's Infected Tim. He does other things too. He attracts zombies, but then if he dies, he actually becomes a zombie.
Right. Because he's a 5-pointer.
He's a 5-pointer, right?
You get a zombie in Zone 2 and Zone 3 every round.
So he's a huge liability, right? And so he's tapping into that, like...
You almost want him to just die.
Right. But, like, those victory points are quote-unquote leadership points, so it's like you're showing great leadership to keep him alive. But man, he can be a real pain, right? And so I just thought those follower cards were really entertaining. You don't want to
get him in like round 2 or something like that, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and really the character cards I thought were awesome. Like Soccer Mom.
The Soccer Mom.
Yes, one of her recipes is get in the van. It's just like, and then she's also really good with the baseball bat. So if somebody's close in, I mean, Soccer Mom's going to defend her kids, man. She's getting out of the van and she's wielding some bats.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it was just awesome. Just all their little character differentiations
totally
was awesome.
Another thing, kind of transition off the theme just for pros. I really like it when a game that has dice rolling in it takes a negative result and you can actually use it for a positive. So obviously, rolling the zombie heads is a bad thing. Right,
man, dice mitigation
in a longer game, right? This game is not a filler by any means, right? We'll get to that in a minute. This game is a longer game, but rolling zombies is not great, right? Because every zombie head you roll is more zombies you're going to be taking on. The cool thing that he did here is that the only way for you to activate your special abilities, of which you have 3 of them, is through zombie heads. Yeah. So, yeah, you might roll zombie heads and that sucks. But now you have access to your special powers, right? So it's like you can take that bad roll and actually if you can roll the other things you need to activate it, turn it into at least something decent. You're still getting zombies, but at least you're getting something out of it, right? And I appreciate it when games do that. Not to mention, if you push your luck and go for the 5 or 6 zombies, it can turn into a great thing. And we saw that happen 3 times. So it's doable. It's not impossible. It's risky.
Right.
But I'll just say that I appreciate...
For the record, it was never me.
It wasn't Jason. Cameron did it. I did it. And then
I did it.
Bill did it one time. So I just appreciated that, like, oh, you rolled a zombie head. Wah, too bad. You can at least do something with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I liked about this game was the other cards that were on the table, because there's a pile of loot cards that are that are lifesavers,
Molotov cocktails, and
exactly. So when you roll the dice, there's just a bunch of different things you can do. So there's just like a lot of decision spaces, because there's the map card, there's a loot card, there's, do I need to use the baseball bat for if somebody's close? Do you get a pistol that you can shoot at things that are further away, so that if you have a bunch in zone 2 or zone 3, you might want to keep the pistols. But to me, what I liked, probably I don't say the most, but maybe was just the most effective, was making sure you had a bank of loot cards, because they were your last line of defense.
Yeah,
right.
They could save your life.
Exactly, and you really needed them, because at some point in time you're going to have a swarm that's on top of you, and those loot cards had things like the lawnmower. You could like take out 3 that are right, or the chainsaw, right? They're just awesome cards, but from a decision space point of view, I don't know, when you're thinking about, am I going to go for that special, or do I want to add loot cards, or do I want to go for a new follower or something like that? It really was I don't know, a cool thing to me, thinking, I'm down to 1 loot card. I could be in trouble in 2 different times. I better take 2 loot cards, even though I might want something else. And I don't know, just it's a very cool game design to me.
I think that it brings up another point that may start us getting in the direction of more like cons. So I mean, if someone needs to jump in with another pro before I don't want it to sound that.
Yeah, let me piggyback off that, and then I'll kick it
Sure.
over to you, because I will echo what Bill said. Is I think the main decision space in this game is how much risk are you willing to take on your board versus scoring points. Because basically, whenever you do something with dice to score points, whether it's take on followers or shoot the mutant zombie, you're not doing anything on your zombie board, right? And so I think that's really the game, is how much am I willing to let pile up here and shoot the mutant zombie a few times instead of shooting zombies on my board, taking a follower instead of taking those loot cards that might save my life, and get away with it and not die, right? To try to score points, right? Because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to score points as much as you can without dying. Okay, right? I'm glad you put it that way. That's what I would say. I think it's a fun decision. So go ahead.
I'm glad you kind of put it that way, because I definitely feel like this falls in between the like pros and cons sort of categories of commentary, right? It's this neutral space of like, this is kind of the core of the game. And what I realized that playing this game is that there is kind of a hinge point where you have to start making this decision. Am I well defended enough against the hordes of zombies trying to kill me to actually go for points?
Right.
And there's really only 2 ways to go for points in this game. Let's say 3. So there's the one where you can shoot the mutant zombie if the mutant zombie is available to be hit with, and then you're trying to roll guns and you want to, shoot him. The other 2 are taking the map tokens, right, and trying to acquire the location cards, which can earn you points.
Leadership
tokens that way. Or you can roll the bags, which are the search things to try to acquire
followers,
right? And this can get you back toward the whole question about like randomness and rolling, right? Yeah. Because if you're just not rolling those, and you have this other zombie horde thing to contend with, there's a balance there that you have to hit, which is like sometimes you might roll and you didn't roll any maps or any bags, and you should let's say, for the purposes of trying to win the game, pick up all the dice that you rolled, even though the guns and bats would well defend you without having to dip into your reserves of your loot cards, and re-roll all of them, because what you really need more than anything else in order to win the game is...
You got to score points.
Ways to score points.
Yeah. Yep.
And if the zombie guy's not out there and you can't, shoot a couple guns his way, you have to keep trying to re-roll to try to get those bags and map tokens.
Which puts you even more at risk of rolling zombie
heads.
Correct.
Yeah. Every time you re-roll, you're risking adding more zombies to your board, right?
So there's always this, and again, like the reason I was framing it a bit like a con is because it comes back to that same thing, like the randomness thing. But the decision point is, did you make enough decisions early on enough to try to like acquire the loot that would let you take that risk, right? Yep. And I think it's crazy, but like even that's thematic.
Yeah.
Right? Am I well defended enough to, go do the capture the flag sort of activity that would, secure my ultimate survival type of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll chime in there. I think that I like that thematically. I think it fits, right? Like, you're not supposed to feel comfortable making decisions in a game like this, right? The purpose of the theme is that you're getting attacked and you need to make that decision point between, do I try to score points right now, or do I defend myself and make sure I don't die?
Right.
Yeah.
Run, fight, or die. I think it has to be made known, though, that you can end up in a situation where you are behind the wave, right? And if you get behind the wave, right, where it's like, well, I need to spend my entire turn making sure that I don't die this turn.
Yeah.
Right?
As Jason transitioned to cons?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm keying off of what Cameron said, right? Like, I think you can find yourself in a situation where it's like, well, I'm looking around and seeing people making all these decisions about, oh, I should take this loot, or maybe I should grab this follower, or maybe I should do this thing, right? And having all these decision points where it's like, well, I'm just trying to keep my head above the water, right? I don't have decision points, right? And based on the way I'm based on the way that I'm rolling, getting a bunch of zombie heads, right? Yeah, maybe that unlocks my special abilities and gives me a slight advantage to be able to, knock off a few extra zombies. But I'm still just keeping my head above the water. And those zombie heads that I rolled that unlock those abilities just added 2 more zombies to my board, right? And so, like, I feel like I'm not going to say this game doesn't give you mitigation, because it absolutely does, right? There are so many, like, loot cards. There's all sorts of stuff, right? Yeah. So many different aspects that I think are so well done from a thematic perspective that gives you so many choices to make. The problem is that if you're not given those choices based on what you roll, and you're facing a giant wave of stuff, you can get behind the curve to the point where all you do for a series of turns is like keep your head above the water.
Yeah.
And that can be a killer in a game where it's not just about surviving, it's about scoring the most points.
Yeah.
And you can only score points if you can keep your head enough above the water to have the bandwidth to do that, right? And that may or may not be possible based on what you're rolling.
Yeah, but that's
right?
I mean that's what I was saying is that, like, I had several turns where like I would have whatever is on my zombie board and I would roll, and everyone at the table would go, "Oh man, you're so lucky. That's exactly what you needed. Wow, you just rolled 2 bats and 3 guns and." And it was like, okay, yeah, like, sure, I can clear my board out, and that's great.
But I'm not scoring
any points. And I actually finished the game once with, like, 2 shotguns and a dynamite
I think you
and
can't
a
let
lawnmower.
that happen, right?
And I realized at that point, like, I was playing, like 3 or 4 turns before I should have been shifting gears and being more risky with my zombie board in order to be more risky in my rolling to try to score more points.
Yeah, I don't need all these bats if I have shotguns.
Correct.
Right?
And it's interesting that this game has that type of decision space that you can actually waste turns that you could have been scoring points because you could play this game endless. The game wouldn't end
you could spin
if
your
everyone
wheels
just
in this
sat
game.
there and just killed the zombies on their boards the whole time. If you don't go for points, it doesn't actually help everyone at the table reach the end game condition, which I believe is remind us what that is.
It's the map.
Yeah, well, right, yeah. So I guess we should get...
You got to run out of the
Let's
location
talk about that
cards,
real quick
right?
as we kind of transition to Connor. There's 3 ways this game can end. Somebody can die, the mutant zombie can die, or a certain location is revealed.
That's right.
I would contend that unless somebody just really messes up, most people are able to fight it off. You're probably not going to lose by somebody dying. The mutant zombie has a bajillion hit points. That's not happening. It's usually comes down to that location card being revealed. And if people aren't doing the location action a lot, which is reasonable, because if you roll one of them, it's a bad thing. So it requires you to roll a bunch of maps, which a lot of times people will just re-roll maps to try to get other things. The game can just keep going and going and going because it's not a set number of rounds. It's a player determined end. And so that can cause the game to probably last longer than it should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bill?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's on my con list. It for all the games that we played, I feel like, I don't know, 45 an hour into it, that people are like, this game, we're ready for it to be over. And people started taking the maps kind of on purpose, even though that may not have been
to end it,
the best choice for them, because they're just kind of getting tired of it.
Right.
It's funny how you can have a game mechanism, like a design feature that is where like the idea of taking one map, it gives you only the bad result. It actually, in other words, you have a game mechanism that's actually disincentivizing the end of the game coming about.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, I think there should have been a 4th condition. This would have been real easy to add. Just on the board, have like a round tracker and be like, or at the end of 10 rounds.
Right.
Right? There has to be some sort of like static end.
Because
if
that
it's
would
player
actually,
determined, it could just keep
that would actually push
going.
people to realize, okay, my reserves are deep enough. I need to be going for points now. Like, in other words, like there's a thing that happens in a lot of games where, in like Dominion, I think is a good example of this, where like someone at the table decides it's time to quote go.
Yeah.
Right, which is like, I'm going to shift from my engine building thing and
to taking
move direction towards taking the points and moving us toward the end of the game. I think it would have been more interesting if there was something like that incentivizing you to go in this one.
Yeah. I think to add to that, if we're touching on this as a con overall, right? This game is very, very much multiplayer solitaire.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
You're aside from if I play
Kicking
a run
zombies
die,
over.
I can kick a zombie to somebody else, or the fireworks card that pushes some zombies to somebody else. Right? You are playing your own game. You're playing against the game, and it's who plays against the game the best. And so, the consequence of that is that on everybody else's turn at the table, you don't really care, right?
Yep.
I mean, you do in that you're hanging out and you're playing a game together and
Right.
you're laughing about stuff that happens to other people, but strategically, you don't really care what's happening on anybody else's
There's
board.
zero to think about until you roll your dice.
Yeah, and so in a game that is extending the hour-long mark because of this thing that we're talking about here, right? Like, there's a lot of downtime between your turns, especially in a 4-player game. So that's just something to be aware of, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah.
I feel like final thoughts time.
I think so.
Fair enough.
Who's going first?
Yeah, whose turn is
I
it?
think
this
it's my
time?
turn.
Okay.
All right, so I'll start off by saying that knowing our core listener group and what they enjoy, this is not going to appeal to the majority of our listeners, right? That are at least on our Discord. Let's put it that way. But I do appreciate our podcast. We try to cover all genres, right?
Yeah.
We cover co-op games sometimes. We cover party games. We cover real-time games. We cover train games. We do war games. We do everything, right? And so this game is not going to appeal to the majority of our base because it just isn't their style. And that's fine. I get it. And I'm saying that because I would say this is usually not my style. I've been quoted on here many times as saying I hate long multiplayer solitaire games, right? I like interaction in games, and this game can be on the longer side because of that player-controlled end. And normally I'm inclined not to enjoy that. But I'm actually going to give this game a 4, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to give it a 4 at 3 players. 4 players, I would not recommend it. It needs to be 2 or 3 so that your turns come around faster. Because like Jason said, there's nothing for you to do when it's not your turn. Now, having said that, we were talking to each other when other people were playing their turns, and it was more of a social experience.
Quarterbacking.
Yeah, or you should do this. When Baglio was here, he was telling everybody what they should be doing on their turns.
Baglio?
Yeah.
Seems out of character.
He loves that. But yeah, the reason I'm going to give it a 4 is, and I'm going to compare it to another game, and I know you've played it, and Jason, I don't know if you have, Bill, but it gave me a similar feel to the game Mechs vs. Minions. So in Mechs vs. Minions, if you played that game, the board gets flooded with all these minions, and you can do these things where you kill like 15 or 20 of them on a turn.
Yeah.
And you just get this like awesome dopamine hit where you like clear the board.
Yeah.
This game does that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like you can have a killer turn.
Right.
Where you can just kill a ton of crap. And you're like, man, that felt kind of fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this game kind of taps into that. Like, I had
still
a really
feels better with Mechs versus Minions though, because it's co-op.
It's co-op, right? But it has that dopamine hit, cool turn moment where you can just nuke your board and kill a bunch of zombies. So again, with caveats, at 3 players, I think it can be an enjoyable experience. It's dice rolling with some decisions. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm going to give it a 4. That's out of character for me. I normally would not give a game like this a 4, but I liked it.
Cool.
So I feel like based on our plays of this game, like the expectation is going to be that I'm going to rip all of this game. Right? I think.
Boy, given the amount of whining that Jason.
Oh yeah, I whined a lot.
Holy cow!
Because the universe hates me, and I roll dice terribly. I don't think I had a single round in which I didn't initially on my first roll 2 zombie heads. Right? It just didn't happen.
You can't roll Igors, but you can roll zombie heads like a bandit.
Yeah, go figure, right? I think I managed to get 1 follower the entire time, while everybody else had like 3 or 4. And my 1 follower was a 1-pointer. I don't know what happens to me in dice rolling games. They just do not work for me.
It's all in your
I'm
head,
cursed.
bro.
It's not. It's on the die that are like facing me every time I roll.
You just gotta roll better.
Yeah, I just gotta practice better and practice my rolling. That said, I think the theme of this game is dead on. I would say that if you were playing this game in the circumstances that we were playing it, right? We were playing it around Halloween.
Yeah.
The purpose is like, let's play a game that's like zombies are scary for, because it's Halloween time. Let's like do something like that. This game fits the bill for that, right? Is this a game that I would get out all the time and play? No. And I think the reasons for that are primarily the wave that can get you, right? You can have a miserable experience playing this game for way too long of a time. If you get behind the curve. And getting behind the curve isn't necessarily your own strategic fault.
Yeah. People can throw them on you.
People can throw zombies on you. You can roll zombie heads on yourself that you can't do anything about. And you can fall behind the curve and spend the entire rest of the game just fighting to keep your head above the water and not scoring any points while you're watching everybody else around you strategizing around, oh, should we take this loot card or that loot card? Should I use this follower's ability or that follower's ability? Which follower should I put this damage on instead of taking the damage on myself? I'd be like, that'd be great if I had any followers or any loot or could do absolutely anything other than try to just survive for another 5 rounds. Right? Or another 17 rounds, depending on how the game.
So
the game
fun
is,
to
right?
watch Jason.
You got there, Jason.
I got there, right? Like, but I don't think I'm being unfair necessarily. I think that
Jason's like, I don't hate this game, but
I said I don't hate this game because I think thematically it's dead on. And honestly, I didn't hate playing it, despite my complaining. But I think
it's your tone. It's your tone, Jason.
I know.
I'm learning a lot about tone and marriage.
Yeah. Tone's important. That's a whole separate subject. But yeah. I think I've made my point clear, more or less, right? You can have a miserable experience playing this game. I guess that's possible in any dice rolling game if you're rolling poor as badly as I do. But you just have to know that going in. This game is long, and it can be miserable if you get stuck behind the curve, right? And that is a possibility. And
It's
for
like
that,
run, fight, or die. You could. It's like you could get attached to electrodes.
it's just die, or die.
It's all your die as you roll them.
With your die, yeah. So that said, honestly, like all that said, y'all bit me all the time, but like, I was between a 3 and a 4 on this game.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that the 4, like, I think it's worthy of a 4 in some respects because of the way that it executes on the theme and just the mechanics and the way they're pieced together. It's just fun.
Yeah, it is.
Theoretically. But if you roll poorly, it's not fun. And it's miserable, and it takes a really long time to get through the game. So for that purpose, like, I think it's not going to suit everybody, and it just, it's not something I'm going to want to play all the time. So it's a 3 for me. Like, if we got it out at Halloween time, and it's like, let's play Run, Fight, or Die, I'd be like, all right, I'll give it another shot. I'm probably going to suck, and it's probably going to, like, suck the life out of me. But I'll give it another shot. To see if maybe the universe likes me this time. It probably won't. But in like a month-to-month, day-to-day scheme, am I going to want to play this all the time? No. So for me, it's 3.
Okay. Makes
I
sense.
feel like that's as fair as I can be with this game.
I'm not arguing with that.
No, I'm not either. Because I mean, you've said a lot that I'm going to say here, and I'm going to try to shorten my review just because of what you said. But there is a magic to this game that I don't think you can deny. That is. I don't know. It's almost difficult to put your finger on, but there is a big old helping of frustration when you're playing the game. And I had a game just like you.
Yes, you did,
Jason, where I just had the hordes was upon me all the way through. And when you're looking at everybody else who is not experiencing that,
It's like everybody else looks like they're having a great time.
exactly.
Right now.
and like you're saying, they're getting the loot, they're getting the followers or whatever, and all you're doing is praying that you're going to get a baseball bat or like 4 baseball bats so you can survive the next round. And that's not even enough because there's going to be another wave of 12 coming on right after that.
Yeah.
Just
like even if I manage to roll the golden roll and get 12 baseball bats, I need to do it again next round.
right.
And also score no more points.
Yeah. So, but to me, I mean, yes, that happens. But I also feel like in some ways that's part of the magic because you know when you do it and you survive it, you can think, okay, even though I didn't win the game, at least I didn't get
There were a lot of stand-up dice roll moments from a lot of people in this.
Oh
game.
yeah, exactly.
Everybody was rejoicing for other people when they survived.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I did the 5
Seemingly
zombies
insurmountable
thing.
odds.
Everyone at the table was like,
Right, exactly. Because I mean, there were some times of mine that I had 10 people on my, they're going to eat you next round. I have no loot cards, and I needed at least 4 bats to get. And you're rolling them, and you get them, and it's like yes. It's just that moment. I mean, this game has those moments, and they're awesome, kind of thing. With that said, I know exactly what you're saying when you're watching Chris over there with his 5th follower that he's getting. It's like he's
It's
not
like, which special
experiencing
ability of my 17 followers should I use this
Dang
round?
it, I forgot to use this guy's ability last time.
Right,
I guess I'll just
exactly.
do it next time.
Yes. Super that because there's also we didn't talk about this, but there's some synergies that you can get with your followers that work with your recipes on your player cards. Like you can flip over dice to certain things that happen to go with your recipes, kind of thing. That's
Man, what does that feel like?
Exactly. So yeah, when you're watching somebody else who actually gets that, which is total luck to get it right, it's hard to watch them do it, especially when it is one that gets you like followers or loot or something that is super powerful. But I don't know. With that said, I don't know. I will also say that the game could go on too long because every game that we played had that moment where the game was going on too long. But I liked it. I mean, it was fun. I would absolutely play it right now because I just felt that magic as we were playing it. So I'm going to give it a solid 4. I think it's worth having in your collection for that moment where you want people to, have kind of a fun, angsty moment of zombie playing nights kind of thing.
Nice.
awesome.
What was real quick? What was the game that we played couple episodes back that was similar to this, but it was like fantasy themed, and you were trying to fight against the monsters.
Oh yeah.
And you were getting like shields and swords and stuff, like explorers or
no, it's
adventures something.
It was in the fantasy episode.
It's
There's like the deck of monsters, and everybody gets assigned a monster at the beginning of the round.
Lost Legends.
That.
Yeah.
This reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I think if I had a choice between that or this, I would play that every time.
Lost Legends.
So, just another data point.
All right.
Lost Legends is a good game.
I enjoyed hearing Elle's thoughts on this because I think it definitely solidified a lot of my thoughts on it. I think first of all, like I do agree. I don't like the whole player-controlled game end thing. I think the game can be too long. I think the games that we played were too long.
Yep.
However, so there's this thing that I feel like has come up repeatedly in the podcast, which is when you play a game for the first time, and then especially, so I have like a 20-minute drive home to my house from Chris's, and if I play a game and in that time I'm sitting there going, what would I do different next time? That's like a pretty good sign that there's like something there. Like there's something interesting going on in the game that makes me want to play it again. That like I get up the next day and I'm like, yeah, what would I do differently? Yeah, I think I would probably try that. It's like, okay, like the game got you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I experienced that with this game. I felt myself going like, what would I do differently next time? You know, what would I would want to look through the players a little bit more to see what their special abilities are, like that kind of stuff. Not that you can control that, but that, you know, maybe I would try to think about it more or something like that. And, you know, I obviously, you know, adore the theme integration that they've accomplished here. And so I appreciated that. And I do agree, too, with Chris's note of the sort of dopamine hit of, like, just crushing a bunch of zombies, you know, that sort of thing. And to be honest, a little bit of this sort of take that of, like, tossing zombies over to your adjacent player. Yeah. Folks have heard me say this before on past Halloween episodes. Like, I'm not super big on, like, the horror, you know, dark sort of themes in general. Even weighed against that, I found myself going, you know what, I did sort of like it. I did like this game. I felt like it was good. If there was a way to ensure that it wasn't going to run on too long, I would like to play this more. I think because of that, like, I don't think I could in good faith like give it a 3 because it didn't totally feel meh about it. I wanted to play it again after playing it, even though I lost. So yeah, I think that's 4 territory in sort of like all fairness. Even agreeing with some of the whole lack of control stuff that, you know, that Jason mentioned. And I think just like when a game gives the air at the table this sort of light feeling of like you're laughing at each other, you know, so it's like you're not contending with each other in the way that a normal sort of more strategic game would offer. You are paying attention in the sense of you're like, I want to see what happens to Chris. You know? And what's he gonna roll, and are the zombies gonna get him, and is he gonna be in a pinch? Like, that's entertaining.
Right.
And
is
like,
he ahead? Let me dump everybody dump your zombies.
And then like, and so I feel like if a game offers that kind of thing, it's like, well then like you're having fun. Like the game won. The game did what it was trying to do. Mission accomplished. Everyone is laughing at each other and having fun. Yeah. So I think that's like the best thing that a zombie themed game can do, right?
For what it's worth, we asked Mike Baglio and Dave Baglio, their brothers, what they would rate the game because they listen to they know our scale, and they both said 4s.
Nice.
And they also said it's too long, but I think there's just something about clearing things off from in front of you that people like, right? Like
it's like tower defense games,
right? It's like tower defense, right? There's something about that
and
that
you're
like,
just like pew, pew,
your
pew,
brain
pew.
is like, I like this, I like this, I like this, right? Doing that kind of thing. Nice. Run, Fight, or Die. Good news. Copies available at Noble Night. Yay!
Awesome.
1 out of 3. Not bad.
Hey, Chris, what's our Noble Night coupon code this time around?
So if you want 10% off of your order, our 10% code is Holiday Gems 24. You can get 10% off your order if you use that. We'd appreciate it. Noble Night is our sponsors. We appreciate them.
I just used it last week.
Nice. Bill's on a board game buying tear right now. Glad you're using our code, Bill. and then 10 copies on the BGG Marketplace. No problem getting this game. You can get it easy.
Sweet.
And those are our thoughts on what? Run, fight, or die?
Yes, Bill. The game we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes.
Right. Oh, no titles. What are you talking about?
Oh, man. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on yet another. Is this the fourth? Third?
Fourth.
This is the fourth Halloween Spectacular episode of Hidden Gems. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. This is great. If you like what we're doing here, please remember it's a huge help to us if you leave us a rating or a review on your podcast platform of choice and follow us on our various social media platforms. Those simple things can make a difference for the show's exposure so more folks can enjoy exploring games with us. You can check out the BGG Guild if you want to interact with us or share a game that you think is a hidden gem. And if you're so inclined, please consider supporting the show over at patreon.com/Hidden Gems Podcast. You can check out our website. We've got all the episodes over there. And until next time, I'm your host, Cameron.
It's Chris.
I'm Jason.
And this is Bill.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is not a video.
You should leave that in.
This episode of Hidden Gems, number 69, was recorded in Raleigh, North Carolina on October 28, 2024. Well, it wouldn't be the Hidden Gems Gaming Podcast if we didn't start another theme series that we may or may not ever finish. That's why in 3 weeks we're going to be working our way through the alphabet, beginning by reviewing 3 games that start with the letter A.
Yay!
Will we make it all the way to Z? Who knows? But we would love to have you join us for the ride. Hidden Gems is produced and edited by Chris Alley, Cameron Lockey, and Jason Yanchuleff. Our Board Game Geek Guild is monitored and managed by honorary Hidden Gems team member Ghidorah. Our Discord channel is monitored and managed by honorary Hidden Gems team member Snoozefest. Our show's logo was illustrated by designer and artist Caitlin Nieto. Check out her work on Instagram, and it's Caitlin Nieto. We would love to hear from you. Feel free to join the discussion on our many social media accounts. You can find us on Facebook at Hidden Gems Board Game Podcast, Instagram at hiddengems.podcast, and X at Hidden Gems Board. Disagree with one of our reviews? Have something you want to say about one of the games we discussed today? You can also make your voice heard on our Board Game Geek Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, guild number 3874. Once again, thank you for joining us on Hidden Gems, and until next time, fellow gem seekers, enjoy your games and enjoy your search.